Alright, looks like I'm live. Hello, I am back for the third time with the objectively better of the two Mario Galaxy games, so if we're ready for a countdown, I can go ahead and get started.
Yep, go for it.
Alright, let's get started in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so Super Mario Galaxy 2 any percent, in the nature of Super Mario Galaxy, starts with a 2.5 minute introductory sequence. So during this time I'm going to be kind of trying to explain some of the basics about this game. So first of all, we're going to start right off by utilizing the main form of movement in this game, which is long jumping. It's rather simple. And long jumps are the fastest way to cross a large distance when you don't have any special upgrades, usually. So you'll see me do that quite a bit. And within a minute of starting the game, we're going to be introduced to this little Luma guy, and he's going to go into Mario's hat and give us the ability to spin. And spinning basically lets you do everything in this game. You can't beat the game without it, because you can gain more height out of your jumps, you can take the launch stars, you can break objects, you can hit enemies. It's pretty much, again, it's mandatory to complete the game. So coming up is the first trick of the run here. Let's see if I can get this. Nice. So what I did there is a slope boost. So when you land on a slope with a high amount of speed in this game, and you jump within the first few frames of landing, you can actually gain quite a bit of momentum from the jump. Unlike Galaxy 1, you can't actually climb up slopes in this game, but you can get some nice boosts off of them. And you'll be seeing me do a couple of those throughout the run. So, yeah, we just kind of have to match these text boxes here. So I'll quickly explain any percent and how it works. So in order to actually beat this game, you need to collect 70 stars in order to unlock Bowser's Galaxy Generator, which is the final Bowser level, and then you need to grab the Grand Star from there to also actually beat the game. So this is essentially a 71 star run. There's no ways you can access the final boss early, because you have to have 70 stars in order to activate the trigger to unlock the final level. Okay, so coming up here, there's a potential text skip I could get. I'm not really going to go for it, but I might get lucky and just happen to get it. So on this next set of 4 text boxes, if you waste a little bit of time on the first 2 text boxes and then get the third one frame perfect, yeah, I'm not going to get it, because all 4 of those are really fast. But if you were to waste a little bit of time on those first 2 text boxes and then get the third one frame perfectly, you can actually skip the 4th one. And with that, it is time to move on to the first star of the game, Sky Station 1, which is a very, very intense star right from the get-go. There is a lot of tech in this star. So to start off, to scroll through text quickly, you can just hold A, like this. And here's the first skip of the run. Skip having to go to the bottom half of the planet. And if I stand still after that text box, then this Luma cutscene ends about half a second earlier for no good reason. So what you're about to see me do here is something called a landing animation cancel. So what I just did there, as soon as I landed, was I went into first person mode as soon as I landed and then exit out of it immediately. And that actually cancels the landing animation you get from landing from the launch star, and I'll be doing that almost every time I land from the launch star in this run. Okay. So I was gonna go for a strat there called Luma Bounce, where you do a foaming ground pound off that Luma to skip that launch star. It takes about 1 second, but my setup for it was not very good, so I decided to bail on it. If you mess it up, you die, so I just figured I'd at least give it a shot. Right, here's the first common medal of the run. So I'll be collecting a lot of those as well. So as is the nature with most Mario games, you gain more backwards momentum than forwards momentum, so you can do crazy stuff like what I'm about to do here. Also excuse the hair dryer that's going on upstairs, if you can hear that. And with that, it's time for the first boss fight of the game, Pee-wee Piranha. So you're intended to spin at Pee-wee's shell 2 or 3 times in order to break it, but you can actually just ground pound the thing once and that showers the entire egg. Ah! I accidentally ground pounded a little too early. Fortunately, it's really easy to back up. There we go. So I gotta do that again. This second hit is a lot easier to get. There we go. Pee-wee runs away a lot slower on that second hit, so it's much easier to get it early. Alright, with that, we are done with the first star of the run. And you're going to see in the lower right-hand corner during these text boxes that you're going to see this little timer there. So that's actually an in-game time for how long it took for me to complete that star. So that star took me 2 minutes and 6 seconds in in-game time. That's a nice thing to use if you're like trying to grind out ILs or you're grinding for consistency. So here's a bit of story. I'm just kind of skimming through these text boxes. Basically, this purple idiot you see on my screen right now is named Lubba. And basically, this spaceship, they ran into Bowser, they lost all their stars, yada yada yada. And now they're gonna make the ship Mario's. It doesn't matter which of those two text boxes you hit, by the way. They both give you the same effect. So now he's gonna use the power of this one star to transform this crappy little ship into Starship Mario, which is sort of the hub world of the game. And over the course of the game, you do unlock a fair amount of like NPCs and other content here. But for the sake of speedrunning, we don't care about any of that. So instead, I'm going to be... my goal is to get to that yellow button as quickly as possible throughout every time I'm on the starship so I can head to the world map. Like move from galaxy to galaxy and actually collect the stars I need. By the way, after that save text box, I actually held down so that Mario would face the camera, which allows me to backflip to the helm. That's usually the most optimal way to get from there to the helm, if Mario's facing the camera. Alright, next up, we're going to actually head back to Sky Station and do Sky Station 2. Something I should point out about these star select screens is I'm going to actually be pointing my Wii Remote off screen and then just mashing A, and that will automatically select any clear star that is on the star select screen. So this star, I wouldn't say this star is nearly as flashy as Sky Station 1, but there's a few interesting things to it. So starting off here, I have to make a pretty tight chomp cycle. I just missed it, but I managed to get the half cycle, which is good. So you can make that half a cycle earlier. I was a tiny bit slow and I mistimed my spin there, but that doesn't waste too much time. So unfortunately that standstill to make a launch start cutscene end earlier trick doesn't work anywhere else in the game. So I can do whatever I want for that case. So this planet, I need to not make any huge mistakes here because there are some elevators in here that are on cycles that I want to make. Right. See how this goes. Alright. Almost hit that amp there, but that was a perfect cylinder planet there. Alright. So here we have flip switches. You gotta turn all these yellow in order to unlock a thing, which in this case is more flip switches. And here's our first instance of Cosmic Clone. So what these guys do is they copy your every move and every input, basically frame perfectly. So they're not so bad here, but they can make backtracking pretty much impossible in later areas of the game. Right, this last planet is pretty self-explanatory. So while I'm on this last planet here, I'm actually going to take some time to explain another way you can cancel landing animations in this game. And that's actually by jumping on a specific frame where you land, because camera canceling when you land from monsters is not always possible. So sometimes you have to go for jump cancels, mainly at the start of the stars. However, it's frame perfect in 60 frames per second, so it's very unlikely that I will get it more than like 5 times. That was a pretty decent Sky Station too, other than missing the chomp cycle. So here Lubba's going to mention co-op mode. So co-op mode is essentially if you have a second player, they take the form of an orange Luma, and you can grab coins, they can grab coins, they can grab starbits for you, they can stun and kill enemies, they can do all sorts of stuff, but I don't really have a second person to play the game with me, and I'm not good at holding 2 Wii remotes at once. So for the sake of this run, I'm only going to be using 1 player. And it doesn't really save that much time in this game anyways, so it really doesn't matter. Anyways, here's Yoshi Star Galaxy. So with Yoshi, there is a glitch you can do called infinite fluttering, and Yoshi is by far, which makes Yoshi by far the most broken thing in this game. So I gotta make my way over the Yoshi egg here. And I'll explain infinite fluttering near the end of the star here once you kind of get to see it for yourself. And I'm going to be going for a rather finicky skip with it. So here's infinite fluttering. And here comes the skip. So this is kind of hard, but we'll see if I can get this first try, hopefully. Right, first try, that's very good. Yeah. So the way infinite fluttering works is normally when you start a flutter with Yoshi, you can't flutter again until after a short cooldown period has passed. However, if you crouch mid-flutter, then you can actually cancel both the flutter and the cooldown, and you can immediately begin another flutter. And you can do this as many times as you want, which allows you to obviously flutter infinitely. And so you can use this to do a couple different things. As you saw there, you can use it to gain height, but also if you're traveling backwards and holding slightly sideways as well, then you can actually go pretty fast and cross large gaps in a very short amount of time. However, once you're in the air for about 10 seconds, you will lose almost all of that speed, and you'll only be able to flutter very slowly to the front or side from there on out. So that's why I actually had to dismount Yoshi at the end of that flutter there, because when you dismount off of Yoshi, you carry all of your momentum. And so that's just enough to enter the gravity field of that planet. That skip saves around 20 seconds, and you lose 40 if you die to it. So it's a very big risk, and it's one of the bigger reset points for a lot of runners. But once you have a decent setup for it, it's not too hard. Alright, so infinite fluttering is going to be used just about every single time I get on Yoshi. Be it to just cross a large distance in a short amount of time, or to do really, really big skips like I'm about to do on this star. This star, you're intended to go to a bunch of planets and fire spinies at glass barriers to access launch stars, but as soon as I get on Yoshi, I'm just going to infinite flutter all the way to the Lost Planet. This is a much easier flutter than the one you saw in Yoshi Star 1, other than a smaller camera change that happened midway through. So you have to be careful about what angles you're holding. Perfect. So that skip saves like a minute. And then here's Giga Key 2. These are another boss here. This is the first pointer-based boss in the game, which means my sense of art kind of has to cooperate here. Alright. So I'm gonna actually head down here while I'm waiting here to checkpoint for safety. And now I'm gonna try a cool glitch here. So if you uncrouch and spin on the same frame, you can get Yoshi in this, like, I'm not gonna get it. Yeah. I was trying to get Yoshi in a little sliding state. It's completely useless, so don't worry about it. Alright. So what I did there is I hit both of those spinies once with Yoshi's tongue, and then threw the first spiny at Giga B2 and ate the second one before the first one made contact, which means I could skip having to wait for him to throw spinies on this last phase here, and I could just throw this spiny right away. And that allows me to get that final hit on him a lot quicker. And that's Yoshi Star 2. So yeah, the first 4 stars tend to be the hardest to get out of when doing attempts, so I'm happy that, for the most part, I didn't really make any major mistakes there. So now we're going to be moving forward in World 1. By the way, just a heads up, this game actually does have quite a bit of downtime mostly in between stars. There's usually about like 45 seconds to a minute in between stars. Sometimes lava gets you on certain parts of the area to talk to you about certain things that we don't need to know about. There's just a lot of text boxes and stuff. There's a lot of cutscenes, but I'd say the actual gameplay makes up for that. But anyway, here's Spin Dig Galaxy. So this introduces us to the spin drill, which, as the name implies, allows you to drill through planets by just spinning. You're meant to use it in several different planets in this level. However, Nintendo kind of forgot that you can jump in this game. So you can skip the spin drill in a lot of places by just doing stuff like that. So here, you're going to be seeing you use a homing ground pound on this spin drill. And that's to kind of get some momentum off of it. So a homing ground pound is basically a spin followed immediately by a ground pound that will home in onto the nearest item, enemy, or NPC. And by using it off that drill and going backwards like that, you can gain quite a decent amount of momentum. And right there, I just clipped into the corner of that little pillar by jumping backwards against it, which saved a few seconds of walking. So this planet is relatively simple here. Just gotta make sure you don't die, which has happened to me before. One of my recent PVs actually died on that planet. So, you're probably wondering why I've been trying to avoid coins whenever I can and shooting out my star deck whenever I can, and that's to avoid text boxes that appear after each star if you have either of them in your inventory. So here's Captain Toad. He wants to talk to me, but I don't want to talk to him, so instead I'm going to shoot him in the face. That's a pretty hilarious little skip right there. Now it's time to fight Dig-a-Leg. So this boss is kind of the first instance of RNG in the run. This first phase doesn't have any, but once we get to the later hits, it'll start getting apparent. So right here I'm going to be brushing up against Dig-a-Leg, and I want him to actually jump on top of me. Not like that. Because if he were to jump on top of me, then he would jump straight to the other side of the planet and immediately become vulnerable, and skip having to do all that jumping around. I also want to try to keep those yellow enemies alive if possible, because then he won't try to spawn anymore when it's time for him to become vulnerable. Okay, I didn't get good RNG at all, but I can kind of manipulate him by just standing still after he does that. Alright. So I didn't get the good RNG there, but at least I didn't really make any big mistakes on the fight. It's really easy to miss a hit and have it snowball. And instead of walking all the way over to the star, I'm just going to drill to it. Like that. And that's the only star we're going to be collecting there, because you actually have to collect that star to advance in the game. There's no way around it. So this is the first instance of lava bringing us to the bottom of the starship, because there's a new NPC that we can interact with. Lava's going to do this a few times throughout the game, but every single time, I'm never going to actually interact with them. I'm just going to head straight to the button as fast as I can, because that's all I care about. I'm going to grab those star bits on the way, because those don't waste time to get. Okay, now it's time to move on to Right Side Down Galaxy. Right Side Down is a cool level because it's the first level in the game to kind of teach you more about how gravity works. So throughout this level, there are going to be arrows that are either blue and point down, or red that point up. And if they point down, gravity's on the floor. If they point up, the gravity's on the ceiling. And this is a level that I feel like Nintendo kind of meant for you to break, however, because most of the skips in this star are just from conveniently placed objects that happen to allow us to access sections earlier than we're supposed to. So first of all, that backflip's pretty cool. As you can go all the way down to the left side. So here you're meant to hit that switch over there to reverse the direction of gravity. But there's a conveniently located item block right there that allows us to fall all the way down to this lower level. I'm going to go for another slope boost here, and I got it. So here's another... Here I'm supposed to hit another gravity switch to flip the direction of gravity, but these elevators are conveniently placed right next to where I need to go. so I don't have to change the direction of gravity at all here. So here I'm going to get the first fire flower, and I'm going to use these fireballs to break open these boxes. Coming up, I'm actually going to be going for a little box skip. Where I'm going to long jump under that box instead of breaking it. That's actually somewhat finicky because if you mistime any input there, then the box will crush you, and getting crushed in this game automatically kills you regardless of how much health you have. Also, here's another skip where I can just run along the ceiling there instead of actually doing any of that, and I can just awkwardly fall back into the room. That was a really good right side down one. So I'm actually going to head back in the right side down, and I'm going to be re-entering that star so I can collect the hidden star, or the secret star, as I like to call them. And this is one of those times where I actually have to manually select the star because there isn't a clear star for me to select, so I actually have to have my Wii remote pointed at the screen. It's not a huge deal. And I'll actually be able to skip the level intro cutscenes here because I've already seen them. So I'm going to go for that same backflip again. And instead of hitting the gravity switch to get into this pipe, I'm just going to jump out of there and wall jump into the pipe. Alright, so now I'm going to do this little box breaking mini game. So this guy is lazy and doesn't want to clean up all these boxes, so he wants me to burn them all up. And I have 20 seconds to do this for some reason. I have a time limit. Let's see how this goes. I missed a few easy fireball shots there, but overall that wasn't too bad. Optimally, I can end with like an 11 or a 12 on the clock. Alright. So now I'm going to be done with right side down for the remainder of the game. And this is the bank toad. He'll be important for later, so keep him in mind. So next up, I'm going to be going to Fluffy Bluff Galaxy, where we're going to be introduced to one of the most broken power-ups in the entire game, the Cloud Flower. I guess one of the most broken power-ups, if you don't count Yoshi, but Yoshi isn't really a power-up. So, the Cloud Flower kind of has its own set of broken physics that I'm going to be using a lot. So the first time I'm actually going to be collecting here is the Secret Star, which requires collecting 100 coins to feed a Hungry Luma. This is actually the first Hungry Coin Luma you can do in the game, and it requires the most coins, but there's like 2 sections with a high amount of coins that you can collect. So I have to be careful here to not miss any of these coins, otherwise I'll have to abandon this star and do a different star. But fortunately you have a pretty decent amount of leeway, and it's not too hard to collect all these coins. Oh, I need that. So I'm going to be collecting the remaining 40 coins on the cloud next to where the Hungry Luma is. And hopefully I don't miss any here either, because otherwise I'll have to go down and get some extra coins, and that'll waste a lot of time. Okay. And this guy is apparently gonna burst with snappy happiness and transform into an entirely new planet, complete with its own star. And I'm going to be climbing up this tower really, really fast, because, again, Cloud Mario can be super broken if you use it properly. Alright, perfect. So what I was doing there as I was making those clouds was I was crouching as soon as I made the cloud, which actually cancels the cloud making animation and allows you to move immediately, which also allows me to utilize that kind of upwards bounce of the cloud, because when Mario jumps on a platform that's moving upwards, then his jump will gain a lot more height, which I'll also be abusing a few times throughout this run. And so that just allows you to get more height out of those cloud jumps and makes it easier to climb the tower. So next I'm going to be doing Fluffy Buff 1. It's actually optimal to do this star first, because then one less star will appear on the star select screen the second time around. However, it's just a lot easier to... There's just a lot of things that make it easier to do in this order. So I'm actually going to be going for a big skip here. But first I actually need to get on top of this tree. And then I'm going to long jump off this way. And with a couple of well-paced clouds, I'll be able to go all the way to the final planet of the level. And here's my first cloud-boosted long jump. So that once again takes advantage of the cloud's upward bounce that it makes when you create a cloud. And it just applies that to a long jump, which allows you to gain a lot of distance and height from long jumps. Another thing to explain about Cloud Mario is that when you're long jumping from the center of a cloud and you're above an abyss, you kind of gain a lot of forward speed in the air for no real good reason. And that is it for Fluffy Buff. So here's the first instance of Mario being taken down into the engine room. This can sometimes happen if the Galaxy Star you just collected had a power-up in it that you're using sometimes for the first time. Here it's going to be the Cloud Flower. You can't actually use any of these power-ups. You can just stare at them and I guess gloat about them. And with that, we're going to be heading out of Fluffy Buff. I'm going to be moving on to the first boss level of the run, which is Bowser Jr.'s Fiery Flotilla. So each of the 6 worlds in this run has a boss level, and they alternate between Bowser Jr. and Bowser levels. And usually the levels are really, really hard. The stage here is pretty difficult, and the boss, Gobblegut, is notoriously difficult for causing a lot of trouble, especially with the fast strats that I'm going to be going for. So here in this section, I have a pretty tight Womp Cycle to make here. So hopefully I don't screw anything up here. Okay, I've already screwed up, so I can't get the Womp Cycle anymore. Alright, you can make it to that Womp 1 cycle earlier than that. I was a little bit slow with my movement. I messed up a couple angles for my long jumps. And now I'm going to skip the entire level by just long jumping into the Titan Dragon Kill, because it's really huge for some reason. And so the boss here, Gobblegut, normally to fight this boss you have to have him dig his face into the planet, and then as the bellyache bulges pass by you can hit them before they go into the ground. However, you can actually attack the bellyache bulges while he's in the air. The catch is, with the strats I'm going to be going for here, you want nothing to go wrong. Otherwise you'll lose anywhere from like 5 to 20 seconds. So let's see how this goes. So I just hit the 5th, 6th, and 1st bulges there in order. So now I'm going to run downward in a straight line and wait until he's close enough to the planet, then turn around at a specific time and get bulges 2, 3, and 4 back to back to back. Have to make sure you don't get hit here. Alright, perfect Gobblegut. I made that fight look easy, but it's actually really, really difficult to do with those strats. And here's the best part. In this run, I actually have to fight Gobblegut twice. So I'll be going for that exact same thing again, and you'll hopefully give myself another chance to screw it up. And that's it for World 1. So that's the first out of 6 worlds done, although I wouldn't say we're really 1/6 of the way through the game yet. And I hope you enjoyed this little Grand Star cutscene, because you're going to have to deal with it after after the first 5 worlds, because the credits will roll after World 6. I'm good on stars and common medals so far. So these Grand Stars basically open up portals that allow us to progress to the next world. World 2 is probably the shortest world segment in the entire run. We only collect 7 stars in this segment, and we're in here for a little over 20 minutes. And the stars are, for the most part, relatively straightforward and simple, but there's a few noteworthy things to point out about them. So to start, we're going to be heading to Puzzle Plank, which is obviously notorious for its song. But actually, this level itself isn't too noteworthy. There's not really anything big to talk about here. Except for this last planet here. This last planet has interesting stuff, but I'll get to it when we get to it. So I'll just kind of let this level speak for itself. This level has some really cool movement. And on this next planet, I'm going to be skipping ground-pounding puzzle pieces on the bottom half of the planet by just backflipping and spinning them along there. Something I should probably talk about with spins is that if you're spinning, you want to be holding A so that you can get more height out of the spin under most circumstances. And with Mario, it's actually better to spin with the Wii remote. With the Luigi, it's better with the nunchuck. Alright. You can skip having to wall jump here. You can avoid having to get that wall jump there, but it doesn't lose too much time if you get that. I have to be careful to not die here because I skipped the checkpoint earlier. So I would go all the way back to the beginning of the world if I died. I should be good. Yeah. So on this last planet where I'm ground pounding these puzzle pieces into the ground, the gravity here is really, really weird. And so sometimes you can actually get... You can just ground pound once and it will go and it will count as 2 stomps for no good reason. There's not sure why it happens, and it's actually kind of rare. I didn't get any there, but yeah. It can save a little bit of time if it happens. So here's Bugaboon. Well, not Bugaboon, but this is a little mini-boss based off of Bugaboon from Galaxy 1. Bugaboon is actually in this game, and the fight is really easy. And then that fight is also really easy. We won't be fighting Bugaboon in this run, though, thankfully. So, coming up, Lubba, there's a bit of an unskippable world map sequence where Lubba is going to explain the Grand World Map does. The Grand World Map is actually kind of important for speedrunning this game because it will allow me to travel between individual worlds a lot quicker, so I don't have to, like, backtrack through every single individual world. So, like, let's say I'm in World 6 and I want to get to World 2, I can just exit, I can just zoom out to the Grand World Map and go straight from World 6 to World 2. And I won't be jumping worlds until midway through World 3, but I'll be jumping worlds a few times throughout this run, so I can backtrack and do some cleanup. Alright, so here is Hightail Falls Galaxy. This is one of the, in my opinion, one of the coolest Yoshi levels in the entire game, both to speedrun and also to watch. Especially because there's a trick at the very end that is, hopefully I can perform that, and it's very impressive. So this level introduces the Dash Pepper, which is a Yoshi exclusive power-up. When Yoshi eats this pepper, which is really hot, he will start running really, really fast enough to where he can actually travel up walls. So here's the first Dash Pepper here. And the effect actually will persist in between launch stars. So my goal is to hold on to the Dash Pepper for as long as possible. So I'm actually going to be heading up this left path here because there's a Dash Pepper on the way. Dodging that wall can be very difficult. Alright, I'll start by doing that. So here I'm going to eat this dash pepper late, so again I can have his effect last before his bubble. And I'm going to do these little jumps at the end of these branches. As far as I'm concerned, they don't save all these times. So here's another infinite flutter. This infinite flutter is actually so easy, you don't even have to crouch in between flutters. You can just let the cooldown run out in between each flutter, and then you don't even have to do this fucking motion. Right, this common metal grab can be pretty difficult, but I'm going to play it a little bit safe by going for a shake here. Alright, here comes the strat. I kind of messed it up, but I didn't lose too much time for it. So recall earlier when I said that when you dismount off of Yoshi, you maintain all of the momentum you have going into the dismount. So basically, that's me dismounting off of Yoshi while he's in dash pepper form, and I'm going up the speed slow. It gives you incredible height and distance. So next I'm going to be going to Cosmic Cove Galaxy, the kind of relaxing water level of the game. I'm going to be getting 2 stars here. And the routing for this galaxy is actually kind of unique. Because for this first star, I'm actually going to be collecting 15 coins to beat the Hungry Luma, but I'm not actually going to be collecting the Hungry Luma star yet. I'll be saving that for a little bit later. So I'm going to head off to the left over here. That's a jump cancel, by the way. That's what I was talking about earlier. So I'm going to grab the shell here, and I'm going to kill these little worm enemies with star bits instead of just shining the shell in, because then they'll give me coins instead of star bits. I'm going to be getting 2 of those. So in this game, unlike Galaxy 1, there's actually a cooldown in between underwater spins, so you can't just constantly spam them. So it's actually better to just swim with the shell, and also it means you have to do a lot less exercise, thankfully. Surface swimming doesn't exist in this game either. Alright, so here's the common metal, and also with the shell I can do these cool little jumps out of the water. Like that. So I hit that switch to freeze the lake and I'm going to head over here to feed this Hungry Luma, and instead of taking its launch star, I'm just going to head over to the waterfall star, because due to where everything in this level is placed, it just works out better. Okay, so I'm going to save this launch star for the next star, and I'm going to head over here. I'll jump off these waterfalls because of logic. That was a really, really good Cosmic Cove one. That was actually a gold split. So now comes one of the more important parts of the entire run, and this is where I have to actually be paying attention, because I actually don't want to auto-select for the next star, because then I'll select Cosmic Cove 2, and I don't have access to the area where the launch star is in Cosmic Cove 2, so I just have to make sure I point my Wii remote at Cosmic Cove 1, after we watch the male toad walk around for like 5 seconds. So here it comes. Hopefully my sensor bar also doesn't mess me up. I've had my sensor bar mess me up to where I actually accidentally auto-selected Cosmic Cove 2, but there we go, we're good. And again, I can skip the cutscenes because I've already seen them. So I'm going to head straight to the launch star. Now I'm also going to grab a few star bits along the way so that I can do a strat on the planet. Sorry that this isn't necessarily exciting, but trust me, you'll be pleased once I get to the next planet. So here is the only bunny in the entire game, and I'm going to be going for a fast strat on it. So let's see if I can get this. This is a little bit precise. Should be good. Nice. So yeah, basically I stun that bunny with Star Bits, which for some reason causes it to run the wrong direction and allows me to grab it without hitting that switch to freeze the leg. So that's that star. So that's one of the two instances. I'm actually playing in the 16:9 aspect ratio for this star. That's one of the two places where it's actually useful. It makes that strat a lot more doable, and there's the other instances at the very end of the run for the world's hardest skip. Alright. So now it's time for Boulder Bowl 1. And I could have done this star earlier, but I actually want this star to be my 15th star, just because it will make Starship Mario events overlap, and it'll save a little bit of time in movement. But anyways, Boulder Bowl has a pretty big skip in it. It's another gravity exploit where I'm actually going to be skipping a planet filled with a bunch of enemies that you would have to otherwise kill, and it's very slow. You can do the skip both with and without Rock Mario. With Rock Mario, it's a lot harder, but I have to do it on this star because I need to get this comet medal over here. And I'm actually going to be going for the safer variant of it. I'm going to be taking my time to set it up. Okay, I can get this. Am I moving on? Oh no! I don't know what happened there. That's a very unfortunate mistake. I haven't messed that up in a while. Yeah. The timing on the spin is very precise. Yeah, basically what I'm going for there is I'm trying to long jump off the left edge of that planet. And as soon as I spin, I'll get caught up in the gravity field of the other planet. That's not what was supposed to happen. I think I long jumped from a kind of bad position. Let's try that again. There we go. That's what's supposed to happen. That's a very unfortunate death, but it happens. And that probably still saved time over doing that star the intended way. Because again, you skip a really, really bad planet. So here is Rolodillo, which I would argue is the most annoying boss in the entire game. For a variety of reasons. That being kind of one of them. But for these next 3 hits, I'm going to be trying to attack Rolodillo from behind without letting it spot me, because otherwise he'll do this rolling attack that wastes a lot of time. And this is really difficult because you're trying to chase Rolodillo while it's trying to chase you. And also I'm doing these jump spins to kind of extend the length of my roll, and sometimes the planet's gravity can just eat your jumps. And if that happens, or if you misalign your roll, then you'll just end up right in its Rolodillo's line of sight without really much of a choice, and then it will hurt you, and then it will do the rolling attack, and it just snowballs from there. But thankfully that fight was perfect. Yeah, unfortunate that I died to that skip, but thankfully nothing else happened aside from that. I did kind of rush it a little bit, so that's probably why. So anyways, here's the overlapping of events. So because I have Boulder Bowl 1, I'm going to be taken down to the starship here to see Rock Mario, but also because I have 15 stars, I'm going to get a letter from the Mail Toad. And so I'm basically going to warp straight from here to the Mail Toad to get that letter. And conveniently, this is also going to place me right next to the Bank Toad. So this is where I'm actually going to be getting all my Starbits from for the run, so I can unlock Hungry Luma Galaxies. And this is kind of the 90% NG plus category, but this is basically the standard for Galaxy 2 speedruns. And for any percent, I need about this many Starbits. I actually need a little more than that, but there's Starbits I can get in other places. So next I'm going to be going to my first Hungry Luma Galaxy, Honey Bloom. And although it does take a while to unlock Hungry Luma Galaxies, usually the stars in them are really, really fast. So it's worth it to unlock them. Oh, I backed up the wrong way there. So what I'm trying to do is, because you can move during those Hungry Limo cutscenes, I set up a backflip so that I can backflip straight to the button and land on it a little bit earlier, but I accidentally hit the control stick before it was time for me to backflip. So I backflipped in the wrong direction. It's not a huge time loss, though. So Onion Galaxy is meant to be a galaxy about the bee mushroom, but I'm going to be collecting the secret star instead, which is basically there's a hidden wall jumping section about right at the start of the level. This star should take me less than 20 seconds if I pull it off correctly. And I'm just going to kind of let it speak for itself. There we go. Yeah, I'll probably have an in-game time of like 16 seconds for that star. That's easily the fastest star in this run. 16.13, wow, I don't think I've ever gotten that time before. Here's another little overlapping of events here. So at 16 stars, that sign next to the helm appears, but also when you collect this star, a bee appears on Super Mario, and that's why I'm down here. Yeah, head back to the button. And now it's time for the boss level of World 2, which is Bowser's Lava Lair. Bowser levels are usually the longer stages, and usually the Bowser stages themselves are pretty difficult, because they have a lot of difficult tricks and skips in them. This one in particular doesn't have any, like, it doesn't necessarily have, like, one big skip or anything, but it does have a lot of, like, smaller skips that add up, which makes this level pretty fun to do. So at the very start here, you're supposed to kill a little Magic Koopa here to make a full star here so you can get to the next planet, but I'm just going to long jump around it and just long jump into the planet's gravity field instead, because that's faster. And similarly here, I'm going to skip this spring by just side flipping into this planet. Hopefully this plane's not getting in my way. Alright, that's fine. Alright, so I'm going to grab this little life mushroom here because I want these extra 3 bars of health for a skip later on. It's very important from this point forward that I don't go below 4 health, because there is a skip at the end of this level that requires me to have at least 4 health. And I can easily lose that here with this lot of extras here. Alright, that's fine. This will work. So at the bottom here, I'm going to turn the camera to manipulate the womps up ahead, so that they're not in my way. And I'm going to go for a lava store triple jump here. So I'm going to double jump into the lava, which will store a triple jump when I land. And I can use that to get the comet medal a little bit quicker. So now I'm going to come up to the skip that I needed the extra health for. So there's a bunch of snake block auto-scrollers up ahead, but I'm just going to skip all of that by just long jumping over here. And I'm going to bounce on this first statue, and then land on the next statue and just immediately be able to long jump across the statues like that. And skip all of the snake blocks. So how that works is actually when you bounce on lava and then when you land in lava and then you land on the ground, you do a short little hop on the ground before you're able to regain control of Mario. However, what I did on there is I had that bounce happen when I landed on the statue, and then I landed in the lava again, but the game remembered that I had that bounce happen, and so I was able to immediately begin moving once I landed on the second statue. You have to space that out really well, or else it's easy to mess that skip up. Alright, so here's the first Bowser fight of the run. Bowser fights in this game are way less exciting than they are in the first Galaxy. Basically, Bowser summons a few meteors, so he slams his fist into the ground and gets stuck, and then you have to ground pound the meteors into him a total of 4 times. There's nothing really too exciting about this fight. One thing I am going to try to do to optimize this fight is first of all, I'm going to have Bowser punch as soon as possible. I'm going to try to have him punch as close to a meteor as possible, and then ground pound the meteor at such an angle so it travels the least amount of distance to Bowser. That's really all you can do to make this fight go fast. Alright, so this second phase here, Bowser's actually going to breathe fire after he spawns the meteors, and I actually want to pay attention to where this fire attack ends, because that's where he's going to start aiming his next punch. And if I'm where Bowser's going to start punching, he'll punch right away. Like that. Yeah, this fight is actually pretty easy. The later Bowser fights are going to get a bit more difficult because more stuff is going to be happening. Bowser's going to become a little bit quicker to plot his punches. And also he's going to have there's going to be shockwaves coming off of the meteors and whatnot. Alright. Bowser can actually punch out the meteors. So that was barely far away enough to not punch out the meteor. That could have been bad if Bowser had actually done that, but thankfully it didn't happen. Alright, so that's it for that fight. So we won't be seeing Bowser again for a little while. And now it's time to grab this Grand Star, and with that we'll be done with World 2. So other than that death on Multiple 1, that was actually a really good roll too. The only real major mistake there was the death on Multiple 1. I've only ever had 2 deathless runs of this game, ever, and one of them is my PB. So, yeah, deathless runs in this game are actually pretty rare. So really, I'm just going to hope that I can keep that death to a minimum. So World 3, this is where I would say the game really starts to kind of ramp up in terms of difficulty. Because this is where the stages tend to get a lot longer and more involved, and mistakes start becoming really, really costly here. There's a lot of the strats start becoming a lot more difficult in this portion of the game starting here. So next time, first of all, I'm going to be heading on to Cloudy Court 1, where we'll be seeing a little bit more cloud boosting action. Because it's been a hot minute since we've used the Cloud Flower to do anything useful. And this level doesn't have too much going for it. It's kind of straightforward for the most part. So right here, I'm going to be going for a 4 cloud strat, where I'm going to be cloud boosting into this Cloud Flower. Oh, okay, I have no idea you can save that. So yeah, I cloud boost in that Cloud Flower, and then that replenishes my cloud stock, and I can use the remaining 3 clouds I get to cross that gap. And basically I use 4 clouds with that. I'll be doing that again later in the level. Here I'm going to be skipping this launch star by just using bombs to cross this gap. I hope I can make it all the way to this Cloud Flower. Nice. Alright, so now we're going to be heading off to the 2D section. In the end of this 2D section, there are crushes at the very end that are on cycles. That open and close on the cycle, and there's a comet medal in the middle of them. So I'm going to try to make it through the crushes, get the comet medal, and then make it out before they close. Here's another 4 cloud strat. Alright, so here comes the crushers. My setup for this is pretty consistent, but we'll see what happens. Alright. Alright, that was an interesting Cloudy Court 1. Alright, so thankfully I didn't make any major mistakes there, although I almost died in like 2 different places there. Alright, so up next is Freezy Flake's Secret Star. And this is where I get to have a little bit of fun with you guys. So this is a skating minigame where I have to beat the chimp's high score. And the minigame timer duration is fixed at 40 seconds. There's no way to end it early. And it doesn't really lose time to go for as high of a score as you can. So if you want to place bets on what score I'm going to get, here are the ground rules here. You can guess anywhere between like 500 and 900 points, and only guess in multiples of 10. So like 580, 670, 730, stuff like that. And whoever's closest or gets it right wins. If you shoot that fireball right, you can break that Goomba statue right away. But I think I shot it at a little bit of an odd time. So the pipe to the minigame is hidden behind this tree. So for this, the patterns that you can get with these gummits, the actual patterns themselves aren't random, but their rotation can be 1 to 4 different rotations. So I happen to go the right way at the start there, which means I kind of know where all of these are going to be. So as you can see here, the green ones give you 10 points, the golden ones give you 50, and the spiky ones are bad, so don't touch those. $850. I'm pretty sure that might be a personal best. I don't know. So yeah, I just totally showed that chimp who's boss. Alright, so if you unfortunately missed your opportunity to guess there's another opportunity later on in the run. And it's pretty much the exact same thing. So you'll get another chance to win the satisfaction of winning. Next up, I'm going to be doing Freezy Flake 1. There's not a whole lot going for this star, except this star actually has a somewhat tight cycle that I need to make. That involves getting to a certain area before my fire flower runs out. Let's see if I can get the fast Goomba statue roll up. Nice. It's not really that difficult, you just gotta know the timing for it. So my goal is to get to the combo medal all the way in the next section with just this fire flower, and I only have like a couple seconds of leeway here. But fortunately the movement is not actually that hard. Yeah, I'm on pretty decent pace here. I should be able to make this. There we go. Yeah, if you miss that, then you have to get this fire flower, get that combo medal, and then wait for the next one to appear. So you lose about 20 seconds. So now I'm gonna skip climbing all the way around this, and then pull up the Bowser statue, and there we go. That's that star. So here we're going to get a little visit from Luigi. So from this point onwards, Luigi is actually going to start appearing at the start of various stars, and you'll be able to talk to him for a little bit. And then you can actually switch to playing as Luigi for that one star. And Luigi does run faster and jump higher than Mario. However, it wastes time to have to talk to him before that star, and then he also talks to you afterwards, and you only get to use him for that one star. So it loses too much time to use Luigi for how much time he would save, so I'm just going to be doing this entire run as Mario. However, for the perfect run, since that incentive was met, I will be using Luigi for that. So at the start of Haunted Halls 1 here, I'm actually going to hit left on the D-pad twice. Because since moving platforms and objects don't move when they're not on camera, I basically just caused a couple moving platforms at the start of the next section to not be on camera, which will allow me to make a much faster platform cycle when I get there. Alright, so I should be able to make this. Yeah, this is good. Alright, made it. So this is the cycle I was aiming to make. You can't really make this cycle without doing that little camera manipulation there. So those first two paths are on global timers, so there's not a whole lot you can do to speed them up. These two paths actually activate when you enter certain trigger zones, and the comet metal path doesn't move until you enter the launch star. So my movement here doesn't really matter too much because I have to wait for this comet metal platform anyways. So I'm going to head to this pipe to the next section, and we're going to be visited by our good friend Yoshi, so take a guess as to what we're going to do. By the way, this power-up is the Bull Berry. It basically eliminates floors underneath you so that they actually exist. Alright, perfect infinite flutter there. Infinite fluttering right to the star is always good. So something very important just happened, and that's that I got my 4th star from World 3. So what this means is that from this point onwards, comets are going to start appearing. And this is what I've been collecting those comet medals for, is because in order to unlock comets in a galaxy, unlike Galaxy 1 where they're cycle-based, in order to unlock comets in this game, you just need to have the comet medal for that galaxy and a specific number of comet medals total. So yeah, Lava kind of explains that here. And a lot of comet stars are really, really fast. So I'm going to be collecting most comets that I unlock in this run. And that sometimes will mean going out of my way in certain galaxies to collect comet medals. Because I'm actually going to be collecting a total of 32. But the comets that have the higher comet medal requirements in this run are actually really fast, so they're worth getting. And for example, this star is less than a minute long, so it's definitely worth getting. So this is another cosmic clone star, so I'm going to have to be dealing with them for most of this star. Although for this first section, if I can just barely touch the edges of each of these 5 starships, I can actually avoid spawning them entirely. I didn't do it there. It doesn't save or lose time if you do it, but it's just cool to show off. Alright, now we're going to head into the 2D sections, and this is where things can get pretty spicy, because since the Cosmic Codes copy your movement frame perfectly, if you fall, they will fall too. So I have to be careful to not fall during either of these wall kicking sections, otherwise it's very, very difficult to get back up. But we're good now. Pretty short and simple start. Not a whole lot to say for it. So for the rest of the time I'm in World 3, I'm going to be kind of letting the comets build up for a little bit, and then I'm going to be making a couple of backtracking sessions back to the earlier world so that I can clean up any comet stars that I need. Now up next, I'm going to be going to Tall Trunk, and I'll be collecting the first main mission from that one. Tall Trunk 1 is a pretty fun star to do, but it's also very difficult to do optimally without making any major mistakes. There's a lot of difficult parts to this. So at the start here, this first planet, this tree, you're normally supposed to use Yoshi and the Blimp Fruit to climb the tree. However, the Blimp Fruit with Yoshi is really slow, and so is Infinite Fluttering upwards, and since Mario is such a skilled acrobat, we can just use his various high jumps and wall jumps and whatnot to scale the tree without needing Yoshi at all. This is a little bit difficult, but once you know get all the jumps down, it's pretty easy to do basically. So there, I just skipped Yoshi entirely. Don't need him to skip that step the tree. However, I do kind of need him in this next section. Alright, this comet metal graph coming up is actually very, very awkward. Let's see if I can get this. Alright, got it. You have to infinite flutter straight backwards for that one, and if you miss that comet metal, then you have to infinite flutter forwards to it, and you lose your ability to go backwards after that, so you have to grab with one foot, and it's really slow. Alright, that was a perfect planet there. So I'm going to dismount Yoshi to, first of all, get to this launch star a little bit faster, and second of all, so that I can do the ground pound at the start of this planet, and Yoshi will be at his egg ready for me. Alright, what I just did there is a frame-perfect ground pound. So if you spin and ground pound on the same frame, then you actually can cancel the spin and enter the ground pound and stay straight away. It's the only way you can ground pound out of the long jump in this game. So here you don't really have a choice. You actually do have to use the blink route the entire time. Right there, I shook out of the blink route mode with the nunchuck so that I could keep my Wii Remote cursor pointed at the next blink route, so I didn't have to deal with my Wii Remote kind of spazzing all over the place. And yes, I just ditched Yoshi. That was actually a gold somehow. I've gotten 3 golds this run so far. That was a really good level. Again, that level can be really, really difficult. There's a lot that can go wrong. And up next, I'm going to be going to Honey Halls 2. So this level is basically Long Jump Simulator 2010, essentially. This entire star is basically just long jumping down pathways. Not a whole lot to it other than that. Long jumping optimally in this game can actually be, it's actually a bit more complicated than it might seem. In order to get optimal running speed from long jumps, you want to press Z and A at around the same time so that Mario doesn't enter the crouching animation before he long jumps, and that means that once he stops, then he won't, once he like lands from the long jump, if he begins running again, he won't come to a stop if he doesn't enter the crouching animation beforehand. So those first 2 long jumps were actually kind of bad, because Mario kind of entered the crouching animation before he... That long jump was pretty good. And also, when you're chaining long jumps like I'm doing right here, there's a small frame window where you can press A to long jump without having any sort of like delay. So those are actually a bunch of really good long jumps there. Yeah, but overall, knowing how to long jump optimally, it could benefit you by like a few frames at best, but obviously in a speedrun, especially one of this length, frames can matter. Yeah, that star is literally straightforward. Nothing really to say about it. So there's one more star I'm going to get before I start my first little backtracking session. And it's going to be another Hungry Luma Galaxy. So this Hungry Luma is pretty weird because unlike all the other Hungry Lumas in the run, the last star bit always shoots out late for whatever reason. And this actually makes setting up the backflip to the helm a lot easier, because I have a little bit more time to time it. Unfortunately, though, that backflip was in kind of a weird angle and position, so I'm probably going to miss the button. Yeah, I was a little bit in front of it. Not a huge deal. And now it's time for Beat Block Galaxy. So this galaxy's gimmick is that on every 8 beats of the song, it will switch between the yellow blocks being active and the green blocks being active, which actually makes this star very cycle-based. And it can be pretty difficult to stay on the fastest cycle here. That being said, though, I am going to purposely play it slow in this first section, because otherwise I'll get caught on some green blocks up ahead. And I don't want that. So yeah, there I avoid the green blocks. So now I can play fast. This star is also kind of just a bunch of long jumps. This section right here is going to be really tricky. Coming up here are a couple of long jumps I have to do with non-notch angles. Alright, that last long jump is really easy to mess up, and if you bonk on one of those blocks, you're basically dead. Yeah, that was a perfect beat block, pretty much. Alright, so now I'm done with collecting stars in World 3 for now, and I will be going back to Worlds 1 and 2 to get some comet stars and other stars that I wasn't able to get earlier. So first I'm going to use my handy-dandy ground world map to exit World 3 and go back to World 1. And I'm going to go to Sky Station to get this Swarmless Comet, which is a time attack variant of the first star, where I have to do it under a time limit, and also I have to point out Nintendo does not know how to spell speedrun. And basically you have to do the star within a time limit, and the time limit here is 20 seconds, which you might think, hey, isn't that like not enough? Well, there's these clocks all throughout the level that if you collect them, add 10 seconds to your time. So my goal is to try to get through this level as quickly as possible while also minimizing having to go out of my way to collect the clocks when necessary. And as you can see here, this is a much shorter version of the first star because you skip a couple of planets. So here's Pee-wee Piranha. Hopefully I can actually do this fight properly this time. Again, instead of actually ground pounding, instead of actually spinning up the shell like I'm supposed to, I'm just going to ground pound it once. Alright. That was a little bit sketchy, but I still managed to pull it off much better this time. Again, this second hit is actually a lot easier. There we go. So, funnily enough, you can actually soft lock on the Pee-wee fight. If you shoot Pee-wee Piranha with a star bit right before it transitions into one of the cutscenes, then the cutscene will just never activate, and Pee-wee will become like completely invulnerable, and you can't interact with him. If that happens on that star, you would just have to like exit the level or wait for the timer to hit 0, and then it kills you. But if that were to have happened in Star 1, you actually have to reset the run. But thankfully that didn't happen. So next I'm going to be doing Yoshi Star's Comets. So Yoshi isn't actually in the star at all for some reason. Instead we have a Romp Star, the first of 4 I'm going to be getting. These Romp Stars basically have to kill a bunch of enemies within a time limit, and usually there's some sort of gimmick. The gimmick here is the Rainbow Power-Up, which makes Mario invincible, and he also can run really, really fast if you let him stay on the ground for long enough. So my goal for this star is to try to maintain for y'all Super Mario Bros. 3 runner's P-speed for as long as possible, but this can be really difficult. It's really easy to run into walls on this star. Okay, that part's really difficult to do without losing your speed and also hit the spiny. I ran into a wall there. Okay, so that Spiny just died off camera, which is actually kind of bad. Because, since moving objects don't update when they're off camera, that means that if a Spiny dies while it's off camera, the counter doesn't actually update. And so I had to kind of rotate the camera a few times so I could get that Spiny, on camera so it could actually die. It's happened to a lot of runners where you get to the end and it just says 29 out of 30 Spinies, and you're just wondering what happened to that last Spiny. And where all you have to do is just rotate the camera a few times until you get it on screen and it dies. Alright. So now it's time for the next Hungry Limo Galaxy. This time it's going to be Flip Swap. So Flip Swap has an interesting gimmick to it. So in this level, there are blue and red platforms, and it switches between the blue ones being available and the red ones being available every time you spin. So casually, you have to be keeping track of when you spin, otherwise you might screw yourself over. But on this star, I can actually, for here, I'm actually going to be able to use that. because the platforms kind of flip in such a way that they move upwards as they rotate to switch. And if you long jump on the edges of those platforms as they're rising up, you can get an incredible amount of height added to your jumps. So I'm going to be going for a bunch of these super jumps. I'm going to be going for 5 in total, and they're all pretty. They have varying degrees of difficulty. The first 2 are actually rather difficult, and then the last 3 are not really that bad. So hopefully I don't die to either of these first 2. Again, these are rather finicky. So yeah, there we go. That's a super jump. You can just kind of fly over the whole level. Oh, that's a little weird. There's the second one. Those 2 are probably the hardest of the 5. These last 3 are not really that bad. So as you just saw there, and you saw me do earlier in the level, okay, I just messed that one up. I don't really mess that one up. Hello. There we go. So yeah, you can cancel a spin with a long jump or a normal jump. And I'm going to actually abuse that here to get kind of a mini. Okay, I didn't get it, but you can kind of get like a mini super jump there, which can save a couple seconds. So thankfully I didn't die there, but that wasn't exactly terribly clean. Alright, so here I'm brought down to the bottom of the starship because there's a bunny here who wants to tell me how to spin, but I kind of already know how to spin, so I'm just going to ignore it and go to the button, like always. This movement might look kind of awkward, but I am pretty sure it's the fastest movement to get to the starship button. So now I'm done with World 1 for now. I'm going to head to World 2 so I can get Puzzle Plank's Comet, because this comet actually unlocks every purple coin comet in the game. And interestingly enough, though, you do actually have to collect Cloudy Quartz Comet in order to unlock this one, because that unlocks every Cosmic Clone comet in the game, and this star has Cosmic Clones in it. So this star, you simply just have to collect 100 purple coins in this tiny room. This is easy to do casually, but doing it fast, especially with the route I'm doing, can actually be really difficult. Because it's really hard to collect all 4 purple coins in one go through without stopping. Right, so far so good. I'm going to be doing these like kind of mini hops here, because that actually does speed Mario up by a little bit. Right. Kind of a little bit of a wall rub there, and a couple minor suboptimal sections, but that was still actually really, really good. It almost never goes that well. And I grabbed the star bit at the last second. So I'm going to have to deal with the text box that appears after because I got that star bit. Waste me like a second. Oh, I got 2 star bits. That's even worse. Alright, here we go. It's time for one of the big boy levels of this run. Now it's time for the boss level of World 3, which is Bowser Jr.'s First Inflate. So this level is meant to be a bunch of auto-scrolling platforms where you have to fire bullet bills at cages to get access to later areas. You can actually skip pretty much everything because the level's basically all one height and you get Yoshi right at the start. So you can just infinite fire throughout the way, and with the strats I'm going to be going for, it's really difficult. This is a very difficult level with the strats I'm going to be going for, and I am going to be going for it until I get it. Because it's a really cool looking strat. It's called the Question Block Flutter. And this is definitely a mid-game run ender. So to start, once I get on Yoshi, I'm going to infinite flutter over to an asteroid that, for whatever reason, has collision. This side flip thing here can be pretty difficult to get. There we go. And then from this asteroid, I'm an infinite flutter to a question block in the middle of where the airships are supposed to be, but the airships aren't there, because I haven't spawned them yet. And then from the question block, I have to infinite flutter through a comet metal, and then go underneath that structure over there, and then dismount at the right time to make it to the end of the level. This flutter requires a really specific angle, and I got it, like, really quickly. Okay, I thought I dipped low a little bit early there, but I made it first try, which is really, really good. Yeah, you have to go really low to get under that structure, and if you go too low, there's a death plane right next to you, so you just die. Very happy that that went well. Yeah. If you miss any part of that stride up, you're dead, and you don't get any checkpoints, so you go all the way back to the beginning. Alright, so here's Mega Hammer. This is another pointer-based boss. It's about as terrible as Giga IQ2. So I'm going to hang back here for a little bit, and get this first bullet bell, fire it, move forward, and then fire the second bullet bell to kind of get an early hit there. I actually don't want to get an early hit on this phase, because I want to cancel one of Mega Hammer's attacks. So I'm going to wait here for a little bit. So when he's shaking his hammers there, he was actually getting ready to smash them together, which will lose a little bit of time. So here I'm going to lure 3 bullet bills, and I'm going to use 2 of them to take out this back weak spot, and then get the third one in Yoshi's mouth, and I'm going to hope that it stores through the cutscene. So let's see here. Alright, it did. So for this final phase, Bowser Jr. is supposed to lower his head so you can, oh, okay, I didn't fire that high enough. Alright. We're gonna have to wait here. So this is how you're meant to do this strat. So that's how you're meant to shoot it, but if you if you flutter high enough and then fire bullet bell at the peak of your flutter, you can just get the cockpit early like that. That's what was supposed to happen the first time, but I guess my bullet bell didn't go high enough. And once again, I'm gonna dish Yoshi here. Alright, that's it for World 3. So sadly, that last part of the Mega Hammer fight didn't go too well, but at the very least I got the question block flutter first try. That is probably the hardest sequence of flutters you can go for in this entire game. So I'm very happy that it went as well as it did. So overall, that World 3 wasn't actually too bad. That was actually a pretty good World 3. And now, as numbers go, we're going to be moving on into World 4 next. And unlike World 3, I'm not going to be doing any world jumping here. I'm just going to go through I'm just going to be staying in World 4 until I get the next Grand Star. World 4 is also a really difficult world because there's a lot of difficult skips and strats in this area, and a lot of mistakes in this world are extremely costly. Most end in death. So, first of all, we're going to go down to where that Hungry Luma is, because there's another Hungry Luma galaxy I want to unlock. So, this Hungry Luma galaxy is going to be Sweet Mystery, which is kind of the, candy-themed level. And, normally, this level is another one of those levels where you just kind of have to platform your way across it with Yoshi and the Blimp Fruit Boat. Much like the last level, which was Infinite Flutter Central, this level is pretty much more or less the same, because you get Yoshi right at the start, and again, the level's just kind of all one height, so you can basically just Infinite Flutter from beginning to end. The IL for this level, held by Pato, does this entire level in one flutter, because if you bounce on an object, and sometimes for power-ups, for stuff that you can eat that requires pressing B right before you land on it, which I actually have to do for Yoshi Star 1. If you bounce on an object, the 10-second timer before you lose your speed actually resets. So the IL for this bounces off of like 3 different objects and completes this entire level in one flutter. It's really sick. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be doing that because that was our IL strats. So this first infinite flutter is a little bit tricky. I'm going to try to go all the way over to the Comet Metal, but the angle required for this is a little bit finicky, and I'm pretty sure this angle is too far back. Alright, I accidentally didn't press B, so I'm gonna have to flutter slow here. So this is why you don't want to run out of time on these flutters. Alright, we made it. That was a little bit close. I forgot to press B there, so that's kind of why I messed that up. But as you can see here, yeah, I can just skip over all this annoying platforming stuff. This is a pretty fast start either way, but obviously just destroying it with infinite flutters is a much better option. This last infinite flutter is pretty scary because if you fall during it, because I'm skipping the launch star, there's actually an invisible floor underneath you. So you would land on that instead of dying, and it takes like an additional 20 seconds to find a ledge you can fall off of. Fortunately, I didn't fall there. So that was an unfortunate mistake there, but at least I didn't die. And now we get to move on to one of the coolest galaxies in the entire game, especially for speedrunning, Flipspell. Flipspell 1, the first star I'm about to do here, is an extremely broken level. There's a bunch of different options you have to skip sections of this level. Obviously I'm going to be doing the fastest one, which really isn't that difficult, but this is also a real big fan favorite level, because the big skip you're about to see here is widely regarded as one of the flashiest skips in the run. So to start off here, I have to wait for this guy to move out of my way, so I can ground pound to get to the other side of this planet. And then I'm going to jump on top of this wall here and head over to where the common metal is. Oh, okay. Uh-oh. That is not good. Alright, so, I know where the common metal is, and it's down this direction. That was a little embarrassing, but that's fine. So now, I'm just going to long jump off this way. Looks like I shouldn't be able to reach that planet, right? Wrong. So I'm going to jump on top of this roof here. And then I'm going to backflip and then slide off the roof to gain a slight amount of backwards momentum. So now I'm falling with a slight amount of backwards momentum. And I'm going to wait until the boss planet is at the right position, and then spin, and I'll just enter the gravity field of the boss planet. Yeah. That little failure on the first planet kind of was upsetting. Basically, I would have long jumped on that wall over straight to where the common metal was. But at least the skips went well. It can be rather, if you don't really know how to do those skips properly, it can be rather easy to kind of wander both of them. So now I have to fight this guy, Glamdozer, where Glamdozer, its chin is actually vulnerable. Its entire body is vulnerable, not just the target on its back. So I basically just camp out underneath its chin and then wait for it to become vulnerable, and then I can ground pound it immediately. Alright, so that's Flipspell 1. Sadly, the rest of Flipspell isn't nearly as splashy. So I'm going to be kind of going back and forth between Flipspell and Sweet Mystery for the first part of World 4 here. Yeah, so here's a little bit of a letter from Rosalina that has 50 star bits. I'm going to be getting 3 of these throughout the run, and they'll just add to my star bit total. And yes, those are taken into account for how many star bits I need. So Flipspell 2 is another star that's kind of all about the spin drill here, except I'm not actually going to be using the spin drill for most of it. Because on these first 2 planets, you can actually skip it entirely. So here I'm just going to long jump around this wall here. I'm going to do a bit of a safe setup for it. There we go. And then here I can just wall jump up to where that pipe is. Alright, so now here comes a pretty cycle-based room. This first part is the hardest part. Alright, good. So getting that spin drill fast enough to make that cycle is actually really difficult. And from there, this is basically kind of half auto-scroller, half cycle-based, because you do have to play fast enough and well enough to stay on the cycle you're on, but it also does involve a lot of waiting. Yeah, that was a pretty good start. And now, actually drilling to get the star here is kind of awkward. Alright, I didn't get the insta-grab, which can happen rarely. Not entirely sure what determines if you can get it or not. And now I've got the comets in both Sweet Mystery and Close to the left, and I'm going to do Sweet Mysteries first because I need to have at least one star in between the last main star I collect in a galaxy. You need to have all the main stars in the galaxy in order to unlock the comet, and I need at least one buffer star in between the last main star and when the comet spawns. So here I'm going to have Sweet Mystery Comet be the buffer star for Cliffspell's Comet. So Sweet Mystery's Comet is another purple coin comet. It's simple at first glance because you just walk around with Yoshi and the Blim Fruit and collect all the purple coins. You don't even have to infinite flutter. But Yoshi walks really, really fast. So not missing any purple coins and not slowing down, doing both of those things combined is really difficult on the star. So you have to be playing, you have to focus really hard here. And also every time I jump, I'm going to double tap A so that I do a short flutter, which cancels the jump, because unlike Mario standalone, Yoshi is actually slower in midair. So as you can see there, if you miss a purple coin, you have to go back for it, which can be not only time costly, but also really annoying. And for most of this level, you're on a time limit with that Blim Fruit. So right there, I was actually really close to missing the next Blim Fruit cycle. From here on out, it's not too bad. It's mostly that beginning section that can be trippy. Yeah, that wasn't too great. I lost a few seconds to having to backtrack for some purple coins. But I could have gone way worse. And if you thought that star was hard, now I'm moving on to a star that's actually even harder than that. So Flipsville Comet is next. It's another purple coin star. And this star actually involves using the spin drill. It's in that room where the spin drill is and where the silver stars were on Flipsville 2. Except this is much, much harder. Because staying on the fastest cycle is a lot more difficult, especially with the round I'm going to be using, which was found almost a year ago by How To Cantaloupe. And it's really, really tight, and you don't have much room for error here. And also, with the spin drill, while you're drilling, you can actually collect coins from a pretty big radius around you, because it gives you a much bigger hitbox for some reason. And that's going to be used heavily in this star. So hopefully this goes well. This first part is probably the hardest of the two parts. Alright, so far so good. Alright. This side flip is really annoying. Alright, got it. So from here on out, it's not too bad. As long as I don't make any huge slip-ups here, I should be fine. Ah, I missed that coin. Fine, I can just wall jump to it. So that was executed basically perfectly, which I'm really happy about. And now I'm completely done with both Sweet Mystery and Flipspell. So I won't have to do either of those two galaxies again. And I can move on to bigger and better things, and I mean that in a literal sense. Because the next galaxy I'm going to be going to is Supermassive Galaxy, which is kind of the Mario Galaxy take on the giant world from Super Mario Bros. 3 and Tiny Huge Island from Super Mario 64, where everything is huge. I'm only going to be collecting 1 star here. The old any % route actually used to do 2 until a few years ago. So at the start here, I'm once again going to be doing some camera manipulation here. I'm going to be turning the camera here to get the pipes and the thwomp off screen so that I can, their cycles are a bit more favorable to me when I get to them. And I'm going to be going for a rather finicky pipe jump to save the equivalent of 1 thwomp cycle here. And this is a little bit tricky. Uh-oh, that's a really bad angle. Alright, still made it. Yeah, that was really close. Alright, I'm just gonna do this. That would be really weird. Whatever. Okay, so on this planet, I can just drill to get this first Koopa, and then continue drilling without even having to move the ladder, really, to get the other 2. On this next set of platforms here, I'm going to be, once again, turning the camera to manipulate some moving platforms up ahead. And if I time this right, I'll have a moving platform spawn right underneath me. And it will look really awesome. Nice. That big movement is something too hard to dodge. There's a secret star on that planet where if you make a bunch of flowers grow all over that planet, then you can get a star. But it's a little bit too slow, and the star is way faster. Plus, no one wants to do Supermassive twice. And that basically would require going through the entire level again. So that's the only star I'm going to be getting from there. Alright, so up next I'm going to be actually moving into the ladder section of World 4, and I'm going to be visiting Chompworks and Starshine Beach. And I'm once again going to be going back and forth between these 2 galaxies for a little bit. So Chompworks 1 is kind of the star of auto-scrollers. There's a few creative ways you can speed up some sections, but this first planet, there's a lot to take in here. So you're supposed to climb up those platforms, but if you run up the very edge of the slope here, you actually can't be affected by the slope's physics, so I'm going to do that here. Like that. I'm going to head over here, take a detour over here so I can get this comet medal, and then try to make it back quickly enough before the first shot breaks. I'm going to stun this guy so that his coin doesn't get in the way of the launch star here. And I'm going to long jump into this launch star to completely prevent a landing stun on the next planet. Now, this planet is simple. And then on this planet, I'm actually going to be doing a strat that we didn't used to think was possible, but if you touch the very left, if you touch the left edge of that platform for a very small amount of time, it actually lowers and stays lowered long enough to where that chunk can get on it without breaking. That used to not be possible, but then I believe Pato found that strat, and it saved a good deal of time. Unfortunately, on this planet, you cannot. You can't get to this chomp quickly enough before it breaks. If you have a second player, you can actually hold this chomp in place and then get on this platform, and it will be ready for you once you get there, but sadly I do not have a second player, so I don't get to do that. This is the star that Chiyoki would actually save time on in this run. Yeah, I just kind of have to wait here for the chain jump to roll all the way to the end. This is essentially a big long auto-scroller. a nice little momentum boost off this button here. You can get a really, really big boost if you time that right. But I was a little too early on my back foot. Let's start this. Depth perception. Alright, so other than that ending portion there, that was a really good level. Again, there's a lot to take in for that star. But now we get to revisit everyone's favorite power-up, the the spring mushroom. I'm sure a lot of people who played Galaxy 1 have fond memories of this thing. And thankfully we don't have to use it for very long in this star, because we can skip it on the first 2 planets. You can actually also skip it on the last planet as well, but it's way slower to do that. And this is the only time you see it used in this run. And Chompworks 2 is important because there are elevators at the very end of the stage that also operate on cycles, but these elevators are visible from the first planet, so you basically need to have good movement throughout the entire star in order to make a fast cycle that saves like 5 seconds. And if you don't get the jump cancel, then it's really, really hard. Alright, so I didn't get the jump cancel here, so I have to play really, really well here. That was pretty fast. So I can just skip the spring mushroom or these first 2 planets because I can just jump to the areas that I need to get to. Here I'm going to do nunchuck spins to get up past these wall jumps, because when you spin with a nunchuck, you can actually spin sooner after a wall jump. Okay, so here's the spring mushroom. So I might be barely fast enough to make this cycle. Let's see. Nice, I made it. So that saves around 5 seconds. So yeah, I've actually never made that cycle in a marathon before. Okay, please get the star. Okay, that was a little bit scary. Yeah, that cycle is really, really hard to make, so I'm very pleased that I got to show it off. Again, we're down in the engine room, and I don't want to be here, so goodbye, lava. And now we're going to be heading on to Starshine Beach next, which is kind of this game's homage to Super Mario Sunshine. So this obviously is a tropical themed galaxy, and you've got piantas everywhere. You've got kind of that luxurious feel to it. It's kind of more open world than most other galaxies. And unlike Mario Sunshine, Yoshi doesn't dissolve when he touches water in this game. So I don't know what happened between now and Sunshine. And I said Yoshi is in this galaxy, so yeah, there's going to be infinite flooding here as well. So this Silver Stars mission is one of the few open world missions in the entire game. So the routing here is actually pretty interesting because we have interesting ways to get from one Silver Star to the next. So here I'm going to immediately get on Yoshi, and then I'm going to just crab, and then infinite flutter upwards to this little cage here. And I'm going to use this crab to break this glass and get this Silver Star. Now I have to do this infinite flutter, which is actually pretty tricky because the perspective is kind of off there, because as you saw there, I started the flutter really far back from the tower, but I'm perfectly lined up with it now. So sometimes you can think you're lined up, but you're actually too far forward, and you have to dismount then. So thankfully that flutter went really well. Right, so I'm going to go for another really cool dismount here, see if I can get this. Alright, I kind of got it. Close enough. So yeah, that's like what you saw in Hightail Falls, where I dismount with Dash Yoshi while going up a steep slope. Now I'm going to take a little detour here to get the common medal. Those eels aren't really a threat. And one last infinite fire to make it to the star. Flutter a little bit forwards there. That was a pretty decent start on each one. Alright, so now Starshine Beach 2 is the next star I'm going to do. And this star is normally a pretty long and roundabout mission where you have to go underwater, go into this one tower, hit a switch to make a cloud flower appear, and then you have to go to the cloud flower, grab it. And Cloud Mario can't touch water or else he loses the cloud flower. So you actually have to ride a leaf all the way over to the tower, and then you can use the clouds to get on top of the tower. However, we have our good friend Chucksters present in this level, and they're a lot kinder in this game than in Sunshine. And Mario can't normally stand on a cloud if he doesn't have Cloud or B Mario. However, there is a small frame window where you can jump off the cloud before it disappears. I'm going to use this to get on top. I'm going to use a Chuckster to get onto the highest cloud of the tower, and then I'm going to jump off the cloud before it disappears, and then make it onto the tower, which skips me the cloud flower entirely. And once again, I'm going to be turning the camera here so I can manipulate the clouds to not move for a little bit. I actually did it a little bit too much because I want to play it a little bit safer, so I have to wait a little bit there. But this is good. You have about 1/10 of a second to make that jump. If that sounds difficult, it really isn't. Yeah, actually, that jump is actually extremely lenient, and it's really easy to make. And that skip saves like a minute. That makes it a really fast star. Alright, so next up, we've got one more star to do before I can go to Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet. And that is Chompworks Comet. So this comet is basically the final planet of Chompworks 1, which is the auto-scroller planet. Except now we get Cosmic Clones, so making mistakes is even worse. Basically, you just don't break the chomp on this star and you're fine, is the motto for this level. However, this is also a star where you can get a free IL world record on it if you grind it enough. Because basically, the strat here is you want to break the chomp as soon as the Cosmic Clones appear, so that the next chomp spawns a little sooner. That was kind of bad timing. But if you time it just right, then the next chomp will appear really quickly. And then you just gotta grab the star as soon as possible, and you'll beat the level in 51.20 seconds. And tie it to the world record with like 8 other people. Now, I'm obviously not going to get that time here because this is an RTA. And here, I just really don't want the Cosmic Clones to hit me, so I'm just kind of moving really slowly to kind of keep them all bunched together. Alright, that should be almost right on top of the star. Perfect. Alright, and now we get to move on to the boss level of World 4, which is Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet. So Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet is actually a pretty interesting level because there's actually, I'm going to be doing both the normal star and the comet, and there's actually 2 unique lava boost skips in this level. The one I'm going to be going for here is called Behind the Castle, which the name kind of speaks for itself. There's a 2D castle at some point, and it's actually in the level, and it actually is possible to go behind it, where there's lava behind there, and use lava boosting to get pulled into the gravity field in the final 2D section of the level. However, you have to be a specific distance away from the castle when you're doing the lava boosts, Otherwise, you die either from being too close and getting stuck in a weird limbo area, or just falling off and being too far away. And I need to grab this life mushroom because you need the extra health for the skip here. And why I'm doing this skip and not the other skip on this star is because I need to go over here and get the common medal, and this is right next to where you perform behind the castle. Alright, here we go. This skip is pretty precise. Alright, so I held up right for about half a second once the camera turned there, so that should put me a good distance away, and it did. That's behind the castle. So that skip saves around 25 seconds to 30 seconds, depending on how well you can do it. Right. It loses about 40 if you miss it, so glad I got it. And it's also a really cool looking skip, too. You can actually, for these locks here, it actually is possible to break off 2 locks at once, but it's super precise, and it happens like once in a blue moon, and there's no real consistent setups for them either. Alright, and now it's time for the second Bowser fight, which is much, much more difficult than the first one. Because, first of all, Bowser only drops 2 meteors instead of 1, and it's actually possible for Bowser to punch out both meteors, which causes you to miss a cycle, which is about 20 seconds lost. Also, there's going to be shockwaves coming off of the meteors as well as Bowser's punches. And also, this is the first fight where I'm going to be going for a punch cancel. So what's going to happen here is after Bowser punches his fist twice for no good reason, he's going to summon the meteors, and I'm actually going to wait to hit him for the first time, because I'm going to wait for him to charge up a punch attack, and I'm going to fire the meteor at him as he's charging up the punch attack, which will cancel it, and make him think he already did the punch, so he won't try to do it again. So again, I'm going to get on here and wait for a little bit. Alright, I heard the sound effect, so it worked. The timing on it is somewhat lenient, and it doesn't save too much time, but it's not a hard trick to go for. And I don't have to do that anymore, because Bowser's not going to try to punch anymore. So yeah, the rest of this fight just goes, it's just going to go similarly to the other fight, except again, the shockwaves, and also Bowser only drops 2 meteors. Those 2 meteors are spaced decently far apart, so I don't think he could punch out both of them. I'm not sure though. Alright, just to be safe there, I didn't like where Bowser was initially, so I lured him out of the way of the meteors. Because I really don't want to lose the 20 seconds. By the way, Bowser's shell can deflect the meteor, so if your aim is really bad, then you're still going to miss. Right, this should be right. And that's it for that fight. So this is going to be it for World 4. We just gotta wait for the Grand Star to actually show up. Oh, this wasn't too bad of a World 4 either. This run so far has actually been pretty decent. I'm about a minute and a half. I think I'm within a minute of my PB currently, so this is still a really, really good run. Yeah, there was a few mishaps on the first couple stars of World 4, but overall that was really solid. So now I gotta sit through this little cutscene and text and whatnot again before we can actually move on to the World 5 segment. And I say it that way because I'm not actually going to be starting with collecting stars from World 5. Instead, I'm actually going to backtrack to Worlds 1 and 2 to get some stars that I either didn't get earlier or was not able to get earlier. So the first 2 stars I'm going to be getting were comments that I actually spawned earlier for high payout balls and multiple, but it's just more convenient to get them later than earlier. And then I'm going to be getting a letter and a secret star in Boldable that required me to get a letter by getting a Chomp Work star and a comet in Bowser Jr.'s Fiery Flotilla that required me to have 20 comet medals, which I didn't have before completing World 3. So once again, instead of just going back through World 4, then World 3, like the slow people would, I'm just going to use the Grand World map and go straight back to World 2. So now here's Hightail Falls Comet. So this is another speed run with the space comet, but unlike the one in Sky Station, I don't have to collect clocks. Instead, I just get 3 minutes to do the star. Nintendo gives you way too much time to do these missions. And this is basically Hightail Falls 1, but with the timer. You also have meteors, which for the most part don't get in your way. You have holes, which for the most part don't get in your way. And the ending of the star is actually going to be a little different because I don't need the comet medal, so this is the comet. So I'm going to be able to do a much faster strat for the ending. So once again, I'm just going to try to, the goal of this star is to keep this dash pepper in effect for as long as possible. And hopefully I don't mess up running up this left side. Alright, good. So yeah, for the most part, this is basically just the same as Hightail Falls 1 until I get to the very end here. I'm also going to be jumping over all these small gaps so that I can take a much more direct line. By the way, when you're off the dash pepper, you can't actually infinite flutter, so that's why I'm not infinite fluttering all the time. And dash pepper Yoshi moves faster than infinite fluttering anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, let's see if I can get this jump here. To actually take the launch star this time. And you can just, if you jump at the very edge of that wall, you can gain a huge amount of height, which is enough to get up here early. That saves a bit of extra time over what I did on Hightail Falls 1. I actually got it first try, which is actually rare for me. Alright, now it's time for everybody in the chat to get your Bless RNGs out, because this next star is all about RNG, basically. So, Boulder Bowl Comet is another romp star where I have to kill 30 crabbers on this planet where Rolodilla was in Boulder Bowl 1. And I have to use Rock Mario to do it. And the crabbers movement is just completely random. So I'm basically just going to be improvising the entire time. So my general strategy for the star is I'm going to be kind of hoping that they group up for a little while, and then once I get to about 24 or 25, I'm going to start focusing on individual crabbers. Another bit of Rock Mario tech that is not explained anywhere in the game, but is very useful in this star, is you can actually jump out of Rock Mario form early if you press A and Z, which are the inputs for a ground pound. So I'll be able to use this, I'll be using this to my advantage in this star so that I don't have to let the rolls run out every single time. Alright, so far this isn't going too bad. I think I've got at least the majority of the blue crabbers, which are the more erratic of the bunch. Alright, so now I can just start focusing on the evil ones. I missed both of them. There's one over here, I think. There's one, and there's one. Alright, that was pretty decent, actually. So, optimally you can finish that with a little over 20 seconds remaining. I have gotten the last crabber with 1 second remaining before. Next grab, start with that. And then there was one time where I actually grabbed the last crabber when the timer was at 1 and it didn't count. And if the time runs out, you have to redo the entire thing and you lose over a minute. So thankfully, you just need to get that first try and you'll be fine. And it's a relatively fast star either way, so. So here's the next Rosalina letter. So now I gotta get one more star in Boulder Bowl. And this is gonna be the letter star, and I'm gonna be entering Boulder Bowl 1 to get it. And here you're actually gonna get to see Boulder Bowl 1 skip without Rock Mario, which I did a horrible job, which I actually died to Boulder Bowl 1 skip with Rock Mario in Boulder Bowl 1. But here, you're going to get to see how easy this is, because without Rock Mario, this is so much easier. Although this jump is a little bit awkward. Alright. So here you go. All you have to do is just run up this ramp, long jump to the left, and spin. You don't even have to set it up. So now, here's this little Goomba guy here, and hopefully he wants to be our friend. So this Guillermo over there likes Goombas for some reason, and wants us to bring him one. And this Goomba will behave however it wants to behave. So it might just stop in the middle of the mud there for no reason. Alright, it didn't stop. And if it gets squished, you only get 2 Goombas here, so if they both die, then you have to redo the star. And also, the game, sometimes when the Goomba enters that trigger zone for it to transition into the cutscene, the game can just soft lock for no reason, which has actually happened to me before. So thank God it didn't happen there. It's extremely rare, but it can happen. Alright, so that's off for that area, and now we have a gear mode here. And again, Lava brings me down here, even though I don't want to. Don't worry, we'll give Lava a piece of our minds later. And now we just had to save a creature, and now we get to go back to killing them. And to do that, we're going to be visiting an old friend again, and his name is Gobblegut. So here's the comment. It looks like you have to speedrun the entire level, but you only have to do the Gobblegut fight. And again, Nintendo gives you way too much time to do this fight. I'm going to be going for exactly what I went for in Pirate Flotilla 1, so hopefully this will just go exactly the same as that did. But this is also the game's second chance to show you how painful this star can be. So again, my goal here is to hit all the bellyache bulges in the air without waiting for him to dig a space in the planet, and I really don't want anything to go wrong here. Messing up a single game clip can deter this entire strat. Alright, good first phase. The second phase tends to be the harder of the 2 phases for me. So let's see if this goes well. You have to, when you move to the right here, you have to move right in a very specific way, otherwise Gobblegut will relentlessly chase you down. And it becomes impossible to get these last 3 hits. And 2 for 2 perfect Gobblegut, that's really, really good. Again, I just made that fight look really easy. It's not easy at all. It takes a very, very long time to get down. And that's it for that fight. So we won't be having to fight that guy again. He does have a fiery counterpart, but we don't talk about him. And that is it for Worlds 1 and 2. I will not be needing any more stars from either of these two worlds, so now we can finally start making progress in the game. And now it's time to move on to World 5. We're not going to be collecting too many stars from World 5, at least compared to the previous worlds we've been in, but there's a lot of interesting stars in this portion of the run. So to start off here is Space Storm 1. This is a actually pretty technical star in terms of movement. There's not really any like big skips here or anything, so really the star just comes down to moving fast. And that planet, with all those elevators you see on screen, is actually incredibly difficult to do fast. So let's see here. I got a pretty precise long jump to do that will allow me to make a faster platform cycle that saves around 5 seconds. And I have to time it just right. I have to time my inputs just right to get this. Let's see if I can do this. That might have been a little too early. Alright, I made it. Nice. Okay. I thought I mistimed my spin there. So I'm gonna wait here for a little bit. Alright, that planet was done perfectly. Very nice. Now I'm just going to lure this Bob-omb over here so it can break some glass for me. And instead of walking all the way around, I'm just going to long jump straight to the launch star. And now this last section, this is going to be the first time we see pole stars in the run. Pole stars are actually pretty finicky to do properly, because in order to do them properly, you have to let go of them before Mario reaches their center, so he maintains a decent amount of momentum. And also, there's just so many obstacles here, so it's super easy to run into something and lose all your momentum. That wasn't too bad, though. So that star went decently well. And now that we've gotten Space Storm 1, which is another star you're actually forced to get in order to actually make progress in the game, it's just going to open up the rest of World 5. But I'm actually going to do Space Storm 2 before I do that. Before I make any more progress in this world. So Space Storm 2 actually pays homage to a GUI-based galaxy from the first Galaxy game, and even has the GUI-based music in it, which I'm sure many people are a fan of. Sadly, you're not going to get to hear too much of it, because this level will take me about 30 seconds in game time. So as you can see here, all the moving elements in this level move really fast, and those blue switches actually slow down time. But I'm going to try to make it through this entire star without hitting any of them. Alright, good first planet. So I'm going to skip this entire first section of the level by just jumping to the left and wall jumping on top of this little platform here. Now I'm going to get on top of the swamp here and try to back up a bit as it's rising up to get some momentum. Uh-oh. Oh. Okay, I messed that up. Backup straps. So just imagine that went well the first time, and then I do that triple jump to skip that top end fight. So yeah, messed it up a little bit, but still really, really fast star. That's, I believe, the second fastest star in the run, if done optimally. But it's really, really hard to do fast. Alright, so we're done with Space Storm, and we get to move into the bulk of World 5 here. Or, again, we're just going to be... We only have a few more stars to collect before we can get to the boss level. So to start off, we're going to go to SuperViperT. And I'm going to be doing SuperViperT's Secret Star first, which is another chimp skating minigame. So this chimp minigame is slightly harder. It's actually much harder than the previous one, because I have to get 100 more points. I had to get 500 last time. I have to get 600 this time. Yeah, got a lot harder. It's basically the exact same thing. So again, if you want to place your bets on what score I'm going to get, guess anywhere between 600 and 900 and only guess in multiples of 10. I'm going to use clouds here to kind of skip how to go along the sea here. And once again, the patterns are the exact same as they were in Freezy Play, but they can be rotated 1 of 4 different ways. So let's see what happens here. I got 850 last time, I'm pretty sure. So, let's see if I can get anywhere close to that. I got a different rotation this time, though. I believe this is one I'm not terribly used to. So once again, no way you can speed this up. You just kind of have to ride it out. That's fine. You can afford to lose a little bit of time here. I'm pretty sure I did this wrong. Uh-oh. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I still have... You get plenty of time to do this. And we'll be seeing the chimp one more time, but the score margin there is not as big, so I'm probably not going to really do any betting there. Yeah, that star went really well. Then again, it's half auto-scroller, so... 730 was still a pretty decent score for me. That's around average. Right, now I'm going to head back in and do SuperViperT 1. This is a pretty technical star. This star has a lot going for it. So at the very start here, I'm going to be doing another gravity skip with Cloud Mario. So the second planet is actually right behind where you start. So I'm going to use clouds and very precisely timed long jumps to reach the gravity field of the ending of the next planet from the beginning of this first planet. That looks good. I'm gonna home and ground pound to get inside the planet a little bit quicker. Now I'm gonna long jump over here and grab this common metal, and then I'm gonna ditch Cloud Mario by jumping into the lava like that, so I can lose the floaty effect because I don't actually want it. So on this planet here, I'm going to be turning the camera to the left for a little bit, so that I can manipulate the timing of some falling icicles up ahead. And I'm going to skip firing coconuts back at these guys by just long jumping past them. Like that. Alright, good level. And now we get to fight Prince Bacante. And I'm actually going to be going for the slightly safer strat on this fight. So, I'm going to be going for the no RNG strat here, which means I'm actually going to be intentionally missing this first coconut. So that was on purpose. And I'm going to get this second one late. Basically, I'm manipulating him to never be on that side of the battlefield during the second or third phases, because then he'll do this like upward spiraling attack that you can use to make the fight go by faster, but it's really random, and this strat has no RNG and is only a few seconds lower, so it's much more worth it. And it's still, again, it's still really fast. So I'm a little distance away from the star, but that's fine. Good SuperViperT 1. So yeah, that level also has quite a bit going for it. And it's one of the more fun levels to do, especially when you know how to do it well. And here's the last Rosalina letter of the run. Next, we get to move on to what I would say is probably one of the most movement-intensive levels in the entire run, Upside Dizzy. So Upside Dizzy 1 is a very, very difficult star because it's extremely cycle-based. There's a lot of really precise jumps and maneuvers you have to do. And messing up a single input can cause a really big downward spiral here. So let's see how well this goes. This is a again, this star is super difficult. This is kind of the sequel level to Right Side Down, so it's got a lot of gravity strips and whatnot. Alright, so far so good. That first part's probably the hardest part. So I'm going to long jump into this gravity field here, which will cause me to shoot super high up. Alright, now I'm going to go for a little Goomba bounce to skip hitting this gravity switch here, so I can make it into the pipe flipper. And I got it. Very nice. That was a perfect first section. Then welcome to the most awkward hallway in the existence of video games. You really just got to make sure you stay on the right cycle here, and you just got to have a consistent method of getting through it, otherwise you're just going to stumble through this entire thing. Alright, that was like perfect with the strats I go for. I'm really happy with how that went. Yeah, I made that level look easy. That takes a very long time to get down. It takes a lot of trial and error to figure out a proper way of getting through those rooms. Next up is the Upside Dizzy Secret Star, and just like Right Side Down, this is a box burning minigame. At the start here, I'm going to be going for a rather finicky Goomba bounce to get into the pipe. This one's a little bit more trickier to do than the one in the first star. Oh, and I messed that backflip up. So I can't do the Goomba bounce now, so I have to do a backup strat. Alright, got it. That only loses a little bit of time. Let's see if I can get this properly. Alright. So, This box minigame, I would argue, is a little bit easier to do fast than the one in Right Side Down because the boxes are more tightly packed together, and you have to throw them at less awkward angles. However, one thing you have to keep in mind when doing these box minigames is that the fireballs don't actually come out of Mario's center, they come out of his right hand. So, I'm actually, if you notice, I'm actually kind of aligning my shots where I'm just to the left of the target I'm trying to hit. Alright, that was really bad. Yeah. I'm trying to be just to the left of the target I want to hit, because otherwise then I'd be too far to the right. So that started to not go too well, but Upside Dizzy is just a really hard galaxy in general. So having one of the stars go well is a blessing. And this is the last time I'm going to be brought down to the engine room, thankfully, because again, I really don't have any reason to be here. And now that Upside Dizzy's done with it, we can move on to another galaxy, which is going to be Boo Moon. This is the second spooky level of the game. And unfortunately, this level is not terribly exciting, especially this first star. This first star is full of a bunch of snake blocks, and it's mostly an auto-scroller, but there are some sections of the snake block that you can actually skip. And Boo Moon has a couple of interesting skips that I'll be going for within the 2 stars I'm getting here. Also, Hi Luigi and Bye Luigi. So on this first planet, it's actually only faster to long jump at the beginning and the end of it. Due to how this planet is curved, anywhere else it's slower. So you're not normally able to go into first person mode on this planet, but there's a 1-frame window where you land where you actually can't enter it and get a landing cancel. So I am going for it, but again, it's frame perfect at 60 FPS, so very unlikely that I will get it. I actually have gotten it earlier in this run on Honey Holes 1. So as you can see, I can still skip some parts of these snake blocks, but for the most part, I just kind of have to wait on them. These octopus are super scary and annoying. I guess you can't really kill them in any way, and if they hit you, then they will cause you to fall behind and you'll die, most likely. Alright, so here I'm going to do a little bit of a skip. Yeah, you can just skip having to ride those snake blocks by just...
Homecoming is a safe space to process your military experience and think about what comes next.
You gonna tell us the truth?
You're worried?
Aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Alright, so now I'm going to re-enter and head to Boo Moon 1. And this level actually didn't used to be in the any percent route, but thankfully there is a new skip that was found a few years ago by Nemi43, who's the current world record holder for this game, that makes this star faster than Supermassive's secret star for the any percent route. I didn't get the frame perfect camera cancel. I usually like to get it at least once in Boo Moon. Seeing as how there's minimal ways to speed this level up. So this will allow me to skip the last part of the last snake block before the launch star. Oh! Okay. I might still be able to salvage this. I'm not sure. Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, can I get somebody to clip that? Because that is not what I was meant to do at all, but I somehow still salvaged that. Okay, that was actually pretty sick. I cannot believe I actually saved that. Yeah, that skip you saw me do there, to skip part of the snake block auto scroller, just that's not how I was meant to do that, but I somehow managed to make it work. There we go. that was a bit of a wild ride there. Okay, so now that that's done, we've just got one more star before we get to move on to the boss level of World 5. And it's SuperViperT302's comment. But first, we have a mail-tub letter. Alright, so SuperViperT302's comment is a pretty short and easy star here. It's another romp comment, where you have to kill 30 of those Autism enemies within a time limit, and once again, you have to use the Rainbow power-up. So you might be actually wondering, since this takes place on the arena where Prince Bacante was, you might be wondering whether skating or running with the Rainbow Star is faster. It's actually neither, but it's easier to turn while running, so it overall ends up saving time to run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skate to build up momentum, and hopefully, and then jump out of it and just start running. So you might be actually wondering, since this takes place on the arena where Prince Bacante was, you might be wondering whether skating or running with the Rainbow Star is faster. It's actually neither, but it's easier to turn while running, so it overall ends up saving time to run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skate to build up momentum, and hopefully, and then jump out of it and just start running. And I should be able to do this all on one Rainbow Star. And now I have 55 stars, so I'm able to access Bowser Jr.'s Boom Bunker, which is the final Bowser Jr. level and the 5th boss level. This level is kind of unique to this game because it's the only galaxy in the entire game where there are cannons. And cannon shots in this game are pointer-based. So this is kind of really the only motion control-based level in the entire run. And the cannon shots in this level are actually extremely precise. You have very small targets to aim at, and if you miss them, you're probably going to die. But this level also has a couple of really cool tricks, and the boss is not terribly difficult, but it has killed me in front of 20,000 people before, so we're not going to speak of that any further. This first planet is rather simple. You just gotta lure a bolt out of this dead Mega Hammer and use it to destroy a bit of glass here. And I just have to wait here until it shows up. Now I'm going to aim this first cannon shot at this Boomerang Bro's face. That should be good. Yeah. It's easy to aim too high there, and you just sail past the Boomerang Bro and just die. And now I'm going to be going for a rather risky version of this of the strat on the second planet here. I'm only going to try this once, because it actually is kind of hard. I think that cannon shot will miss. Actually, so I'm going to land over here, and now I'm going to grab the common medal, and you're supposed to use clods to get to the end of the next section, but that's just a suggestion. So if you long jump, not at the edge of that platform, but slightly away from the edge, then you get enough momentum to skip the cloud flower in that section entirely, which saves not a whole lot of time, but it's a really simple jump to make. And as long as you can get the cannon shot down, it's really not that bad. And now it's time for Doomsday, which is the boss that will either make you or itself look like a complete joke. So there's a one hit down. I got a great burger ground pound there, which is really good. I hit Z too late there. And now this third phase is actually really, really difficult. You gotta make sure you don't screw up here. We're good. So upon grabbing this Grand Star, I will be done with World 5. And I actually won't be coming back to World 5 to get any stars after this. Okay. So, judging by the pace I'm currently on, I am currently on pace for like a... I'm on pace for like a mid-high 304. I can either 304 or 305 this run, because World 6 is the final world in the game, and it takes around 40 minutes. My best is a low 39, so we'll see what happens. But also, World 6, it's easy to make a lot of big mistakes. So, let's move onwards. This is kind of the final stretch here. This has actually been a really decent run so far. I'm pretty sure I'm still only on one death, by the way, from Boulder Bowl 1. So to start off World 6, I'm going to be going to Melty Monster Galaxy, which is actually the only 3-star galaxy in the entire game where I can get all 3 stars in one sitting. Without having to like backtrack to it or anything. And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Melty Monster 1 is actually a pretty difficult star to do fast. Because there's tornadoes on the second planet that are on universal cycles. So I have to play really well within the first big portion of the level here in order to make the fast tornado cycle. And I have pull stars to deal with, so that's going to be fun. Alright, you have to get a momentum from that pull star so that you can make it to this long star. No idea how you were expecting to figure that out casually, but so on this planet, it's basically just about doing a bunch of like minor platform skips like this. And I'm gonna grab this life mushroom here and use it to just skip over all this here by just lava boosting. Oh, I nearly fell in the lava there. That would have cost me the tornado cycle. Alright, I made it. I gotta make this launch star here. And now I gotta go to through this final section. Every single one of these tiny planets has its own gravity field, so this can get really awkward. Alright, so this first long jump here will allow me to skip these first few planets, and I got it. Nice. Oh, boy. Not even get hit there, so that's fine. I would have to wait on this magma off here anyways. I did not do that properly. Okay, I think I'm just Okay, I'm in a really bad position here. Okay. I'm better. Okay, this is bad. That was definitely something. If I were to have died there, by the way, I would have gone all the way back to the beginning of the second planet. So that's why I kind of played it a bit safe there. Because I didn't hit the ending. I didn't hit the checkpoint at the end of the second planet. Whew, that was close. Alright, so still got 2 more stars left in Melty Monster. They're both relatively fast. First level wants to talk to us again, and we're getting kind of sick and tired of them at this point, I imagine. Alright, so next I'm going to do Melty Monster 2, which is basically like 50 seconds straight of using Rock Mario. So no lava in this one, even though this is Melty Monster Galaxy. And this level can be easy if you play it safe, but with the strat I'm going to go for at the end, it's actually really risky and easy to lose a lot of time. Alright. So once you take these ramps, you actually can't stop Rock Mario, so it just becomes a pseudo-auto-scroller, I guess. This is also a really good level for farming star bits on, so if you need to like fill up your bank toad or something, this is a really good level to do that for. Alright, here we go. So the strat I'm going to be going for at the end here is called, I call it zigzag skip. Basically, there's this part where you're supposed to use a couple of fences to deflect you back and forth across the zigzag path, but you can actually roll straight across the tiny gap without needing to use the fences. And this requires really precise positioning and really good timing here. And if you mess it up, you die and you lose about 45 seconds. Okay, I thought I jumped too early there. Alright, I'm gonna go for this. I got it. It's kind of... It's more so finicky than it is difficult. But at least I made it first try. That saves only like 3 seconds. Alright, one more star to get, and it's the secret star. This is going to be the next, this is the third and final chimp challenge of the run, and it's a bowling minigame. And I actually did Melty Monster 2 first instead of secret, because only 2 stars are going to show up on this star select screen instead of 3. And that allows me to save a little bit of time there. Alright. So I'm going to take this pipe here, and here's the chimp. So there's 56 pins in total, and I need to get at least 50 of them, but I'm going to be intentionally skipping 3 pins so that I don't have to wait on cycles. And I'm just going to be doing this the normal way. There is a strat you can do to make this kind of faster, where you do a spin jump onto the ramp that deactivates the ramp, and allows you to jump at the very edge of the ramp, because if you notice, I'm kind of stopping after I take each ramp. That can actually not happen if you jump at the very edge of the ramp. However, it's really, really precise and not really a marathon safe strat, and I've been practicing it quite a bit, but I'm just not comfortable enough to go for it in RTA, so I'm just doing this the normal way. So here are the 3 pins I'm going to skip, and I think so far I've gotten every single pin, so I'm going to be fine. Alright, I missed 1 there, but whatever. Alright, so that's it for Melty Monster. And now we can finally make some progress in World 6. Up next is Clockwork Ruins. So this galaxy does not give us a whole lot of good options for anything fast, because I want to get to Throwback, but in order to do that I have to go through this galaxy. Clockwork Ruins 1 is like 3 minutes long, so not going to bother with that. However, Clockwork Ruins Secret, this star does require collecting 30 coins to feed a hungry Luma, but that can all be done on this first planet, and once I'm done feeding it, the star is basically done. However, this star is somewhat difficult to do because it's cycle-based, and you really, really don't want to die here. Otherwise, the cycles are really bad. Alright. So I'm going to try to play this as safe as I can here. I could opt to skip having to get a coin from the final platform if I feel like it, but I'm just not going to bother with it because this is a marathon and I really don't want to die. So if I had done faster movement there, I could have made it to this platform and gotten that coin before it moves past me, and I would have been able to skip going to the 3rd platform, but you have to move really precisely in order to get that. And it's really easy to die when doing the movement that would require that. So I'm just going to opt to get a coin from this 3rd platform here. And I'm going to opt to get this one specifically. And hopefully this Archibas don't kill me. Okay. So now I'm basically done with the star, because this next planet, you're supposed to go about it, and once again hit switches to slow down time, but I'm just going to do a simple triple jump wall kick to skip the entire planet. Again, do this skip if you're playing the game casually, it's much easier. I'm probably going to die to it, though, because the setup I use for this is somewhat precise. Alright, I nearly messed that up. Alright, there we go. So that saves a lot of time. So that went decently well, considering what I was going for. And that's the only star I'm going to be getting from that galaxy, because every other star is way too slow. Or I guess the only other star I can get is way too slow. And with that, it is time to move on to a level that I think you all might recognize. So yeah, I'm not even going to bother memeing about it pretty much, but this is Throwback Galaxy, so this is a, this level is kind of a remaster of Womp's Fortress from Super Mario 64, a game that I actually ran earlier in the marathon. And this is basically a rehash of, this is like a remake of the chip off Womp's Block Star. And that common medal over there is actually where the Shoot into the Wild Blue Star was in the original SM64. Unfortunately, the movement here isn't nearly as flashy as it is in SM64. I'm gonna go for a cool little triple jump into a ledge hop here to get up to this common medal here. Or wall kick, which is as well. Okay. So I'm gonna head up here. You can skip killing this Womp, but no. It requires using the Womp to clip through the floor in a really stupid way, and it doesn't work like 90% of the time. And it's just bad, and it only saves like a few seconds, and if you miss it, you get crushed and die. So it's not really worth it, especially for a marathon. I've only ever pulled it off like a few times in my life. So here's the actual Womp King, and unlike SM64, you cannot glitch through him, so you kind of have to fight this guy as intended, more or less. And these little Wimple guys are super annoying. It's very easy for have one of them just knock you if you're not careful. This fight is actually kind of scary. And I have actually choked a PB-based run before to dying to this guy. Not once, but twice. But I'm not gonna die. Nice. So, King Womp's kind of vibrating there, and so if you jump on a frame where it's vibrating up, then you'll just shoot super high. That doesn't lose any time to go for it, so. Okay, so now that that's done with, we're able to get a couple of fast stars out of Throwback now. So next is Throwback 2, which now harkens back to SM64 DS, and now we have a Silver Star mission. Except Womp's Fortress didn't have a Silver Star mission in SM64 DS, but we'll let that slide. And now I'm going to stop talking about that thing, because I'm sure many people don't want me to do that. Oh, okay, that was a really long jump. Anyway, so, this Silver Star mission, they could have made it to where, like, all the Silver Stars were in, like, right coin positions, but they just kind of threw them around the level randomly and then gave you Cloud Mario. Not exactly the best design choice, but I'm not complaining. The movement in this level is also really cool. There's really neat ways to get from one Silver Star to the next. And again, we have Cloud Mario, so we get to do some physics abuse. So I have to be careful here when I grab this Silver Star, because it's really easy to time this cloud too early, and then you miss the Silver Star and you have to wait for the cloud to run out before you can make a new one. I'm going to go off to the right here for a little bit so I can get some extra momentum as I'm long jumping with Cloud Mario there. Because again, when you long jump over an abyss as Cloud Mario, you get a lot of speed. Alright, do some cloud boosting action here. Alright, that was really good. And now I'm just going to ground pound into the star, because in case you haven't noticed, doing ground pounds actually takes you down to the ground really quickly. Like that. So whenever you need to travel a large downward distance, a ground pound is the way to go. Alright, so now it's time for the final Hungry Luma Galaxy of the run. And this is Flash Black. So the reason why I'm taking this bottom route instead of taking the top route is because the top route has a galaxy called Battle Belt, which is basically just a gauntlet of a bunch of different planets filled with enemies. It's a cool concept, but unfortunately the star is rigged way too slow to be useful for any percent. And by going this route, I'm able to get Flash Black stars, which are pretty fast, and Slimy Spring, which is really the only other better option. Because I have to go one of these two paths to get to be able to unlock Galaxy Generator. And this is just the better path to take. So Flash Black has a pretty interesting gimmick where, in a cycle-based fashion, the lights will flicker on and off. Which means you only get a small glimpse of the level every few seconds, but I've played this level hundreds of times. I know what it looks like. I know the layout of it, so that's not going to really be an issue for me. And also you get Yoshi here, so we get to do some cool stuff with him, but there's no real infinite bonus stuff in this level, though. So yeah, this level is just kind of all about using the blink fruit here. Alright, coming up here is potentially a cool strat that I can do here to get this common medal. So yeah, bounce off the Auction Mode, ditch Yoshi, give him a little bit of hope, and then just ditch him again. That was a little bit slow, but... Alright, now we got some Silver Stars plugged here. This is relatively simple, there's not a lot to say about this section here. This platform is on... I'm actually gonna wait for this platform because it's on a cycle I'm not used to. Alright. There we go. Up arrow at Future Force 814. Alright. And that's it for Flash Black 1. Yeah, pretty interesting little star there. And now the interesting stars kind of die down for a little bit. So everybody in chat, pull out your resident sleepers, because this next star is kind of boring. So this next star is actually a pretty nice calming star. It's a bit of a breather star from the rest of World 6.
In that case, is it okay for me to talk for a bit?
So Slimy Spring, in case anybody doesn't know, this star is basically like 2 minutes straight of just using the shell underwater. There's not really a whole lot going for it. So this is, although to be fair, this is the last normal star in the run that I'm going to be collecting. So it's a bit anticlimactic, but hey, what can you say? So at the start here, though, there is the third and final slope boost that I'm going to be going for. And I got it. Alright. So once I get the shell here, it's just going to be kind of smooth sailing from here. This level also contains the last common medal that I'm going to collect, and it's coming up in a little bit over here. I don't believe I missed a common medal this run. I should have 32 after this. Yeah, here's the common medal off to the left here. There we go. So yeah, if the hosts are still in the call here, if you want to plug plug the marathon, or if someone donated and you want to read it, now would be a good time. because I do not have much to say.
Okay, thank you. Let me first say that you are watching the Supporting Autism Speed Event, which raises money for the Organization of Autism Research. They are a charity that strives to fund autism research as well as ways to improve the quality of life for individuals with autism. You can find more information about this charity at researchautism.org. So, if you do decide to donate, we have several incentives to donate. Currently we have 2 left open, and they are both bit wars.
I did not mean to miss that,
the first bit war is between is for Sonic CD 2011 Sonic Any%, which is the next upcoming run for the choice of the soundtrack. Currently, Japanese soundtrack is in second place with $27, and in the lead is the US soundtrack with $50. The other bit war is for our closing run of the marathon, which is Hello Kitty World of Rescue. The bid war is for the choice of clothing that Kitty will be wearing. Currently, swimsuit is in the lead by $50, and denim is in second with $1.99. So if you want to see that denim, then we're gonna need a lot of donations towards that.
So yeah, that jump out of the water there that I did, it's not really that hard, but you just need to have a pretty decent lineup for it. And if you miss it, there's a shell literally right next to you, so it doesn't even lose that much time to miss it. So that's the last normal star I'm going to be collecting before the run, and I have all 32 comet medals, that's good. So the last 6 stars I'm going to be collecting before a Galaxy Generator are all comets. I'm going to be collecting 2 in World 3, 2 in World 4, and 2 in World 6. And this is probably the most stressful part of the entire run. So, first of all, though, we do get a rather easy star, but loops can be deceiving. The star has tripped me up a few times in the past. So, Honey Hall's Comet, I could have done this way earlier, but due to routing complications that are way too complicated to explain, I need this to be a buffer star for a couple of comets that I'm going to get after this. So this is basically the last part of Honey Hall's 2, but with Cosmic Clones. It's still just a bunch of long jumps. The camera for this first section is slightly weirder, though, because I guess there's Cosmic Clones you have to deal with. Oh, okay, I did not mean to bounce on that matter out there. You can bounce on those enemies without getting hurt, but you can't kill them, I don't think. Alright, this is good so far. Alright, you made it. So yeah, that star isn't terribly difficult. You just gotta not be an idiot. Alright, and now we get to the late game run enders. So, next comet is Beat Block's Comet, which spawns at 31 comet medals, and this comet is somewhat of a pain because, so if you remember the first star, the blocks were moving 8 times as fast. This star says they're moving in double time. However, in the star 1, they moved every 8th beat of the song. Now they move every other beat. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, which means the blocks in this star actually move 4 times as fast. That does mean that cycles are less of an issue here. Obviously, you still want to go as fast as possible, but there's no like super fast cycle you need to make that's like super tight. But this is still a very, very difficult star. And I have lost PB-based runs for this before. So you just gotta be pretty proactive here. And also, for whatever reason, you get Yoshi in this level, so, okay, all infinite butter. Skip, like, the first half of this level to try to get this checkpoint. Nice. Get that for safety. So now I gotta make it through this last section without dying, which is easier said than done. But some of these long jumps are actually really difficult. Alright, perfect. And I should be able to just jump onto the star platform from here. Alright. So yeah, if you play that star safe, it's not really that hard, but with how fast I did it there, it's very, very challenging. And again, you can lose runs to it super easily. But that's not the worst part of the run. That is the next star. Next star is without a doubt my least favorite star in this entire run. So next is this star, Gravity Gauntlet Comet. So this star, I'm going to be going for the other skip that I didn't go for in Gravity Gauntlet 1, because I don't need the Comet Medal, so I'm free to do it here. And this star, the skip for this star, it takes advantage of lava wall boosting. So when you hit a lava wall as opposed to a lava floor and then hit the lava again, you get a huge increase in horizontal speed, and you can use this to perform a skip that's about 10 seconds faster than behind the castle, but the skip requires really precisely timed inputs while in the air. Messing any part of it up can result in death, so dying to the skip wastes about 35 seconds. So hopefully I can get this first try, and I am going to go for it until I get it, because it is a really cool skip. I'm going to use a lava boost to get there a little bit quicker. Alright, so here goes nothing. This skip has killed many, many runs of mine before. Alright, that should be good. Alright, first try, nice. Alright. So what makes that skip so difficult is you have to switch directions at very specific times in the air, and it's very easy to just miss the platform and die. And here's the best part. Sometimes if you land in the wrong spot on that platform, it's actually possible to fall through the floor and just die even if you land. So it's a really annoying skip. But thankfully I got it first try. I have lost many runs to that skip before. So we're past the late game run enders now. And now all that and now we have a couple of easy stars to go through. Starting with Starshine Beach Comet, which is actually a purple coin mission, so you would think that this would be kind of, the purple coins are spread out and you have to, it's a big collectathon, but no, they made the star ridiculously easy and fast. And you get Dash Yoshi, which is neat. So yeah, this star is pathetically easy, and you also have way more than 100 purple coins. I am going to try to miss as few as possible, though. Alright, already off to a pretty bad start here. If I don't miss too many purple coins, I can go for a tiny little shortcut on this near the end of the star, but you have to make very tiny adjustments on the joystick in order to avoid missing purple coins. And I think I've already missed too many. Yeah, I've missed way too many. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this and then take a kind of tiny cut here. There are 140 purple coins here, so yeah, again, you have way more than enough. Alright. So now the only two comets I have left are in Throwback and Flash Black. And then after that I'll be off to Bowser. So again, I'm going to use my Grand World map to go back to World 6. And we're going to start with Throwback's Comet here, which is basically Throwback 2, but on a timer. This is pretty much the exact same as Throwback 2. The only minor difference is that there's some cycles at the beginning that are slightly harder to make because the level intro cutscenes show different parts of the level. So certain elements are not on screen, but this star is still laughably easy. Well, not laughably easy, it's kind of difficult, but it's basically the same thing as Throwback 2. It's important that when I bounce off that Bob-omb Buddy, I'm holding A, so that I get enough height from the bounce to land on the platform up there. So that's the cycle that's slightly harder to make with that pushing guy. One weird thing about Cloud Mario is that you're not normally able to spin while you have clouds in your inventory, but sometimes, for no reason whatsoever, Cloud Mario can actually do homing ground pounds even when he has cloud in his inventory, which can screw you over in a lot of places in the start, and I have no idea why it happens, so hopefully it doesn't happen here. Alright, that was good. And I should fall right under the star. I might be a little bit behind it, though. Alright, there we go. Easy star. And now just one more star before we go on to Galaxy Generator. And that's actually going to be Flash Black's Comet. So this star is another romp star where you have to kill 30 Autism enemies. There's not really a gimmick to it, I would say. But this star is actually a really fun star because it requires the skill of multitasking. So there are 3 ways you can kill the Autisms. You can either spin at them, jump on them, or shoot them with the star bit and then kick them. Shooting them with the star bit and then kicking them is usually my preferred method, but I have to be able to grab star bits, keep track of my star bit counter, aim them, shoot them, and control Mario all at the same time. Pulling the star off fast is actually really, really satisfying. So let's see what I can do here. So I have to be keeping track of my star bit counter pretty often here. Okay. Sometimes I'm going to kind of play it safe, but if it doesn't look like I'm going to hit the Autism ball, I'll like spin at them or jump on them or something. Because if you miss the star bit shot and try to run into them, then you get hurt, and that's obviously bad. And it's easy for these Autisms to just knock you off the edge with no remorse if you're not careful. Alright, and near the end of the star you get Yoshi, so you can use him to actually eat up some of these enemies. Because his tongue can actually eat up to 3 enemies at a time. Alright. If I had not approached that the right way, I could have actually done a little bit of a flutter to the star from that last Autism that I jumped on, but I was in a bit of a weird position, so I opted to just walk over to the star. It's not that much slower. And there we go, that's 70 stars. So now it's time for Bowser's Galaxy Generator. But first, we have the one and only Purple Idiot Skip. So Lava has been bothering us this entire run, okay? I'm sick and tired of his shenanigans. I don't want him to talk to me anymore. He wants to talk to me before I go to this level. But you know what? Sorry, Lava, you just got skipped. Okay, so yeah, that skip's called Purple Idiot Skip, so on the space before Galaxy Generator, there's supposed to be like a 33-second long cutscene where Lava tells you it's like the final battle and you gotta get ready and stuff. But if you click on the Galaxy Generator space with the Wii remote, instead of moving there with the nunchuck, you just skip over the cutscene entirely. It's actually a really easy skip. Oddme found it in late 2015, so huge shoutouts to him. And now it's time for Bowser's Galaxy Generator, which is one of the best levels in terms of movement and skips. It's even got one of the coolest infinite flutters in the game here. Definitely be hardcore. So first we got another lava wall boost. This one's much easier than the one in Gravity on the Comet. And I can use this to skip killing those guys. See if I can grab the spin drill properly. Nice. So I need that spin drill to get through there. And then I'm going to lose it on purpose so that I can long jump and also spin after jumping, in case I need to. Yeah, I'm going to need to here. I didn't know if I really needed to, but I just wanted to be safe. I'm going to go off to the left there to manipulate cycles for the next planet here. Alright, this is not a good cycle to be on. Uh-oh. Okay. So I'm not, usually if that flame hits you, you just get spiked underneath the platforms and you're dead. But I was able to, yeah, thankfully the cycles worked out in my favor. Alright. That planet did not go as planned, but I didn't lose too much time. And now here we go. This is the coolest. This is one of the coolest infinite flutters in the run, and this infinite flutter actually saves a really good amount of time because I basically skipped that section over there and a couple of snake blocks, But I do have to do this flutter in 2 parts because of the 10-second cooldown. So this first part is just getting on top of the castle. It's pretty easy. But then I have to infinite flutter across that pit of lava and dismount at the very end to get all the way to that final platform over there. And I have to be really careful to control my height here, because if I flutter too high, I'll soft walk and I'll have to leave the level. Alright. And then I dismount at the very end of that flutter. Okay, I barely made the top platform there. So yeah, I barely made that, but yeah, you can make that top platform if you have a really good starting height and you maintain a decent height throughout and dismount pretty late. I didn't, unfortunately, I dropped a little low and I also dismounted kind of early because I didn't want to run out of time. Alright, and with that, it is time for the final Bowser fight. So here we go. This is the final Bowser fight, and this is without a doubt the hardest fight. Because Bowser goes back to dropping 3 meteors, but there's more shockwaves that come out of them, and he is a lot quicker to pull out his punches in this fight, which means you have a lot less time to make the hits. And it's also a lot easier to miss hits in this fight. So first of all, once again, he's going to punch twice here. And he's going to summon the 3 meteors. And just like the one in Fighting Gravity Gauntlet, I'm going to go for the punch cancel. So I'm going to wait for him to punch. And then I'm going to wait on a meteor. And I'm going to wait for him to start a punch. And then hit him, and I'll cancel the punch. And again, I don't have to do that any more times. Okay. I was not expecting the closest meteor to work, but that was the one I was actually trying to aim for. Alright, here we go. Here's the final phase. So this phase is ridiculously hard. The third hit is super easy to miss because Bowser pulls out his punch insanely fast. Alright, getting hit there is not a huge deal. Alright, let's hope Bowser's in a good position here. That looks good. Alright, that works. That hit's really hard to make. If you wait too long to get that hit, you will hit Bowser after he's summoning the meteors, which cancels that. So you have to wait a whole other cycle for new meteors to appear, which is really unfortunate. But thankfully that didn't happen, and this should be fine. Alright, this is good. And there we go. That's the final hit there. And so, Bowser's dead, right? Yeah, so the Grand Star is going to appear here. Now, he's supposed to come back, but however, if I have frame-perfect movement up to the Grand Star and I touch it in the exact right spot, I'll be able to grab it, barely grab its hitbox, and skip the final Bowser fight and end the game early. So, let's see how this goes. So it's long jump, long jump, long jump, and oh crap, I didn't get it. That's not possible, by the way. Yeah, it's actually impossible to skip this fight. You can't grab that Grand Star at all. And this fight is laughably easy. And this is the most epic song in the game, but you only get to hear it for like 20 seconds because it's just press A and Z 4 times to win. And Bowser's one attack drop a coin, so it's literally impossible to die in this fight. You can still miss hits though, but it's rare that happens. Alright, and that's it. So time is actually going to be coming up here pretty soon. It is going to be when I touch the Grand Star. So this is actually going to be a mid 304, which is going to be, and this might actually be my second best time though, I'm not sure. It might tie my second best time ever. So this is going to be within like, this is going to be within 40 seconds of my PB. This is a really, really good no reset run. It might have actually been a PB if it weren't for that multiple one death. But yeah, that is Super Mario Galaxy 2 any %. This is also going to be marathon world record, by the way, because marathon world record before was a 3:05:15 by me. And I'm about to get a 3:04. So get ready on time on my mark. And time. 3:04:41 is what my timer says. That actually ties my second best time. So, very, very happy with how that run went. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that run. I'm very pleased with how that run went. Now, I would watch the credits, because there is something cool I would want to show off at the end of the credits, but a donation incentive has been met. So, I am going to do that.
Indeed it has, thanks to all you generous donators.
So I'm going to head over to this 242 star file here, because now it's time to do the perfect run. So in case anybody doesn't know, the perfect run is the 242nd star in the game. It is essentially a long gauntlet full of difficult obstacles and sections you have to deal with, and it's under Daredevil restrictions. So if you take one hit, you die, and there are no checkpoints throughout this entire thing, so you have to do the entire thing in one go. And we're not going to be using a timer for this one, so I'm just going to be doing this on its own. And I'm playing as Luigi here for the advantage and movement and stuff. So first of all, I'm going to skip these cutscenes here so that the cycles of these green enemies are going to be slightly better. Not like it matters too much anyways, because I'm going to be doing these infinite flutter strats to mitigate most of the cycles. They don't really save that much time, but again, it's just to mitigate most of the cycles here, and it does look a lot better than just taking those grappling hooks. There we go. Oh. Right here. I actually want to keep Yoshi after this section, so that, because he runs a lot faster than Luigi does, so I'm gonna use him to make this section a little bit faster. And as you can see here, I can just kind of cut across these corners without jumping. That's the only time I have to jump in that entire section. Now, I do have to abandon Yoshi here, because I have to abandon him at the start of the next section anyways, because I can't have Yoshi and the Cloud Flower at the same time. So here I'm going to do a little bit of a skip where I go in between those two things. Again, okay. So remember earlier how, so that was a frame perfect ground pound at one of the worst possible times. Okay, so I should probably explain. The inputs for doing cloud canceling are shaking the Wii remote and pressing Z. Those are the exact same inputs to do a homing ground pound and a frame perfect ground pound. So that can sometimes happen. I got very unlucky with my timing there. Fortunately, though, that was just the third section. Let's try this again. So you have to be really careful when timing pod cancels so that you don't accidentally ground pound. You tend to want to time Z a little bit late. There we go. Alright, so let's try this again and not get a frame perfect ground pound this time. Should work. Okay. So I want to leave this section with 2 clouds, no more, no less. And I also want to long jump into that launch star so that I can prevent a landing cancel. So I can prevent a landing animation on this next planet. Okay. All right. Yeah, Luigi takes longer to accelerate, so sometimes you can do that with him. So I'm going to use these 2 clouds here to make this section a lot easier. So I can just skip over all of this. And in the next section, we have some pole stars to do. And I'm going to be taking advantage of pole star momentum abuse here to help make me basically fly over this section. Like that. And this makes this section not only a lot faster, but a lot easier. And now it's time for the final section, the Hammer Bros and Boomerang Bros section, which I would say is the hardest section. So you only have to kill the 3 Boomerang Bros at the end here, but it's much easier to kill a couple other Hammer Bros to make your life a little bit easier. So I'm going to do that here. I'm going to kill this guy so he doesn't get in my way when I'm trying to kill this guy. And I'm going to kill this guy because his hammers can reach you from over there. Alright, now I'm going to take these guys all on one at a time. Alright. That's 2 down. And I can kill this guy with just a single ground pound. And done. So that's a perfect run. Sorry about that death midway through, but yeah, there you go. Also, before I grab the star, fun fact, there's a 1 up here for literally no reason. Okay. And there we go. So that's Super Mario Galaxy 2. Thank you all for watching, and with that, I will throw it back on over to the hosts.